Part 223. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2227. You are not allowed to leave. You work, I will give you a job, you take me flying, don't say no, or I will kill you. The little devil-like creature kept shouting and bossing around. Jia Yan smiled bitterly. Sorry, sir, I have to work. You know what I mean, in this world, everyone needs to work, otherwise no one can live. I don't have a job, so I can't live without you. You're not allowed to leave. The little devil was almost dancing, looking quite arrogant. But even if she behaved like this, she didn't go to the point of taking action. She just turned her fiery red eyes around and pointed at Jia Yan and shouted. Let's do this. I'll give you a job, so you don't have to leave if you work for me. No matter what you do now, just quit. You will be mine from now on. Be proud. Jia Yan's heart moved slightly, and then he seemed to understand something. But his expression on the surface was still hesitant, and he continued to shake his head, looking like he wanted to take off. No, I have a job, you have a child, and I don't know who you are. How can I quit my job just because I believe you? I am also a reputable person. Seeing that he said he was willing to work, but the other party still looked unbelieving, the little devil finally broke out. Stop. I appointed you to work for me in the name of the master's family. I am the owner of this Princess Ridge, Master Sila. Don't worry, no one will stop you from working for me. Whoa. This time, Jia Yan really stood still with some dignity. Then he turned back silently and looked at the little devil-like creature in front of him. Although there was a vague guess just now, at least the other party did not reveal his identity at that time, and he still had a hint of denial, because the possibility of such a guess was too small. You know, that is the princess of the master. Even if Jia Yan guesses, he will not really take the guess as the truth. But when the other party actually said this in his own mouth, he still had a sense of absurdity and unreality. Your Excellency, stop talking nonsense. Are you the princess of the master family? Deep in this mountain, what is the possibility of a princess coming? I believe you know better than me. I will not believe you. If you continue to talk nonsense, I will capture you and hand you over to the master family, so don't talk nonsense. Jia Yan said calmly, his eyes with countless compound eyes exuding a terrifying light. I'm not talking nonsense, I am Sila the master. If you don't believe me, come with me. My guards are not far away. Just follow me. The little devil screamed angrily, then pointed at Jia Yan and continued to boss him around. How about you ride for me, and I'll give you a month's salary after riding for half a day. At this moment, Jia Yan had countless thoughts flashing through his heart. Although I don't want to believe it in my heart, I will really encounter the owners of this land in such a desolate place, the master family members, but this possibility is still there, especially in this area, which is originally the so-called master princess has greatly increased her possibilities. In addition, during his free time during the previous flight, he had searched the internet about the master family. He knew that although the appearance of the master family was not fixed, it was said that the little princess who was most loved by the family owner seemed to be really, it looks like a small and cute humanoid. In this way, the possibility that she is really the owner of this land, that is, the young Master Sila, has greatly increased. Assuming that the other party is really the princess of the master's family, what should I do? Jia Yan's mind flashed with thoughts. Although the master family is the supreme authority to the native creatures of this land, to outsiders like Jia Yan, it is just a huge force. Even if he cannot afford to provoke him, he will not. It feels like the other person is the whole world. Now that you have encountered it, you must find a way to benefit from it. Your Excellency Princess, whether you are a real princess or not, I am willing to fly you a certain distance, okay, but I am really short of money, otherwise I would not be miserable enough to patrol this uninhabited area, so I believe you will be willing. You gave me money, right? Jia Yan spoke first, and he must have taken care of the salary thing that the other party mentioned just now. Even if she can't get more benefits from this so-called princess in the future, she will definitely get the benefits she promised. After all, she is a princess from such a big family, so she can definitely afford a month's salary. She can easily afford it. It's also a lot of gains. Haha, I'll give it. Hurry up and ride it for me. No, take me to fly. I didn't tell you to ride it for me. Someone told me that it's not polite to talk to intelligent creatures like this. I'm a polite princess, ha 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 ha. The little devil was both sensible and ignorant. He immediately left the tiger creature he had just rescued from Jia Yan and flew happily to Jia Yan with a look of anticipation. Even though they were so close, she wasn't afraid of someone plotting against her. Jia Yan was a little surprised in his heart, but this surprised feeling, when he suddenly felt an extremely shocking pressure as chaotic thoughts emerged in his heart, it shocked him. Depend on Domain Lord level. Jia Yan is all too familiar with this feeling. This is the pressure that only Domain Lord level creatures can release. In the North Star, it is true that no one knows the strength of the other party, but this does not mean that the power of brainwaves cannot be released. Especially for Territory Lord creatures, once their brainwave power is fully released, the land affected will definitely be several kilometers away, and everyone will know that this is a Territory Lord creature. At this moment, Jia Yan felt a terrifying brainwave power pressure from the existence of the Territory Lord, which overwhelmed him. Sure enough, if the other party is a princess who controls the power, there must be guards of this level. Or it should be said that Jia Yan only had to shock a princess's guard, but he actually used the domain master. How powerful must this master's power be? It is worthy of being able to control such a huge area, and the Territory Lord in the entire area does not know how many forces there are. Unfathomable. At this moment, Jia Yan clarified his thoughts. He knew that the appearance of this energy was to scare him and stop him from having any bad thoughts. Maybe the other party didn't know that Jia Yan was a peak mid-level star in the galaxy, but no matter what, he was definitely not a domain lord, so he let Jia Yan get close to the little devil who claimed to be a princess. Being so close, this guard must be taking a lot of risks. The most feared thing is that Jia Yan is an assassin of the domain lord from an outside force. Then he will not be able to protect his master, but he will not let the princess get close to the outsider. She will not give in, so he should be close to her now. If things change, he will strike with thunder. Jia Yan is certainly not the assassin the other party imagined. After understanding that there was a domain lord creature here that he had truly had close contact with for the first time after arriving at the North Superstar, he extinguished all his bad thoughts. If the demon princess didn't give her money later, he wouldn't have the slightest idea of forcing it. Because he has lost his subspace ability, even if he still has a certain degree of confidence in escaping in front of the domain lord creature, the possibility is no longer great. What's more, the existence of this protector's domain lord is not necessarily an ordinary one. As for the territory lord, if it is a more powerful territory lord, then he does not need to escape. It would be easier for him to just wait for death if he does something wrong. At this moment in Jia Yan's heart, he couldn't help but have the idea to quickly study the subspace channel of the public program. That's all. I can't afford to offend you. Why can't I hide if I can't afford it? Let the princess ride for a while, and then I will quickly return to the mine and retreat. If they don't figure out how to enter the subspace, I will no more patrols. Jia Yan looked annoyed. God knows why he actually met members of the most terrifying family within tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of kilometers in an area that was supposed to be peaceful. If he had known this, he would never have left the mining area. Ha ha ha, your back is so hard and smooth. The little devil-like princess jumped on Jia Yan's back, and then touched Jia Yan's back and wings, with a look of surprise on her face. But after the close contact, Jia Yan's face turned a little ugly. Not only was the creature approaching slowly, but even Jia Yan didn't know where he was. The domain master creature put even greater pressure on the brainwave power. Even the so-called princess herself came into contact with Jia Yan's body. There was actually a trace of power being released that made him uncomfortable. This power is definitely not her own, but comes from some external object. This is the terrifying thing about a top family. Foreign objects can make a strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy feel like a thorn in his back. When Jia Yan founded the Yin-Yang sect, he had planned for the sect to have a magic weapon. Unexpectedly, there had been similar things in the North Star. Of course, these might be some very scary rare substances. Otherwise, it would be like the kind of magic weapon Jia Yan had set for the sect and everyone could afford it. Bo Star should have already had such a magic weapon in hand. In other words, I am afraid that only the Master family, or a comparable Domain Lord family, has the financial resources to manufacture this thing. Anyway, Jia Yan finally understood that the cute little demonic creature flying on his back was the serious little princess of the Master family, Master Sela. And he also understood that because of Sela's protective equipment and the close accompaniment of a Domain Lord creature, her family dared to let her act on her own in the mountains. Moreover, this was her own Princess Ridge, which was close to a peaceful area, and the information was not available. In the case of leaks, if there are Domain Lords who come to visit such a deep place in their own territory, the control of their own power by the people of the Master's power family will be too useless. Because of their Master's ability, their family, that's what's called a Master. He said nothing. When the princess sat firmly, he said directly, "Sit tight." Then he flew up. "Ha ha ha ha, fly faster, I can fly faster than you." The little devil looked at the shrinking mountain forest and screamed, looking happy. Jia Yan paused for a moment, then made himself faster. The vague coercion of a Domain Lord level powerhouse has always been on him. It can be seen that the other party must be chasing him on the mountain and forest ground, and he does not seem to be relaxing at all. As for the tiger creature that had just opened its intelligence, after falling out of favor, it stayed in place for a while, then shook its thigh and wanted to leave. But at the moment he left, his whole body was shaken suddenly, as if he had been hit by a restraining spell. He sat down on the ground, sticking out his tongue like a pug, with a fawning look. Because he also felt a terrifying pressure. As a creature that had just evolved from ordinary creatures, he very abided by the laws of the mountains and had to give in when encountering strong people. This was even more important than Jia Yan. Simply. "Ha ha ha, you are flying so high, higher than I have ever flown. Ha 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 ha, let's go a little higher." The little demon creature yelled for Jia Yan to fly higher. Jia Yan was very obedient and continued to rise. At this time, the altitude reached an altitude of 10,000 meters, which is 10 kilometers. The brainwave power of a domain master creature on the North Superstar does not have such a wide range of influence. So after he deliberately guided the little devil princess to raise her demands, he quickly saw through his compound eyes the figure flying up from the mountain forest, trying not to let the little princess see it. This was a creature that was only about 3 meters tall. He looked like a fox, with strange eyes, looking coldly at Jia Yan flying in the sky. Jia Yan looked at each other and felt an extremely deep cold. It seemed that they didn't agree with each other. He will use his unique ability to freeze Jia Yan. It's high enough, it won't be comfortable any higher. Jia Yan shook his head and did not intend to die, but kindly consoled him. "Okay, then fly forward. I want to see how fast you fly." "Your Excellency, take a seat," Jia Yan said calmly, and then increased his speed. According to his public information, he is a strong man of the middle level of the galaxy, so if he really wants to be fast, he can show the speed of the middle level of the galaxy. This kind of speed must be that of a little devil creature that has not reached the middle level of the galaxy. Exciting. Wow, ha ha ha, it's so fun. You are a very good person. It's so exciting. They don't even take me flying, but you are willing to take me flying. The little devil finally changed his arrogant look and praised Jia Yan. You're rewarded. As long as you are willing to give me a month's salary after flying for half a day. My salary is not cheap. Jia Yan looked businesslike. But the little devil didn't care about this at all. Isn't it just a month's salary of a galaxy level? I have too many people like this in my family, ha 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 ha, they are not as interesting as you. The little devil kept directing Jia Yan in the air, and Jia Yan followed suit. He dived from time to time, then ascended, and then pressed down into the valley on the ground. He almost hit the top of the mountain, but he missed the exciting flight pattern of the sudden change of the top of the mountain. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2228. This made the fox creatures behind become a little nervous, and they wanted to take action immediately to drive away the bold flying creatures. But Jia Yan is a flying creature after all. The one with wings is above the North Star. It already has the advantage of a flying creature. It is full of flexibility. When its wings move, the direction will suddenly change, so it is more dangerous every time it is looked at. But there has never been an accident. And after getting familiar with the temperament of the seemingly tyrannical and overbearing master family princess behind him, Jia Yan became bolder and engaged in some bizarre flights and tricks to amuse the child. Wow, you scared me. You stalled. I thought you fainted. Oh, is this hunting in the air? I caught an ant creature as soon as I went there. It's okay. Just catch this creature to death. Everything in my territory belongs to me. I will take it back later and kill it and eat it. Ha ha ha, and this little box of yours is so fun. Why would you want to live in a box? It's so small inside, but it's so fun. After a few tricks back and forth, almost half a day had passed, and the star hanging in the sky gradually sank, which meant that night was approaching. Okay, Your Majesty Princess, the time is coming today, look. Jia Yan turned around, not because he wanted to chase people away, but because the time was up, and the domain lord creature behind seemed to be forcing him to stop pestering his little princess. In fact, it is not Jia Yan who is pestering the other party, it is the so-called little princess who is pestering Jia Yan. I don't want it. I still want to play, you are very interesting. The little devil crawled inside Jia Yan's suitcase, and she didn't mind that this thing was low class. Or maybe to her, such low-class things were something new that she had never seen before. I have to go back to answer my orders, and you have to go back to your home. Jia Yan didn't give her any more chance to stay, because the domain master creature wouldn't let Princess Sela stay for long. The little devil seemed to understand something. She looked back at the sky behind her and discovered the fox creature flying in the sky. Suddenly, she curled her lips unhappily. Okay, I'll give you 1 month's salary. The great Sir Sela won't talk nonsense. How much is your monthly salary? Jia Yan said a number. He was very honest. He did not overpay or underpay. He would pay whatever salary the mining group offered him, and he would not lie at all. That's it? I know you're at the galaxy level. It's really miserable. Even my venerable level members have more than you. Do you want to hang out with me? The little devil picked up her pink smart brain. Jia Yan felt keenly that the processing speed of this smart brain was many times faster than her own, and it was also very smart. As soon as she opened it, the transfer program she wanted automatically to start. She only needs to click on something, let Jia Yan's brain pair with her, and then complete the transfer process. Jia Yan received the news, no more, no less, just the number he said. Moreover, the name and information of the other party who transferred the money to him did not exist. In other words, no one could find any trace of Jia Yan's transfer, but it was definitely not done by a hacker. Probably the bank processing staff read his records. You will know something. Haha, Your Excellency Princess, everyone has his own ambitions. Let's talk about it if there is a chance. I don't want to work for a big power for the time being. Jia Yan smiled faintly, making his point clearly without any concealment. He knew that many things should not be told truthfully. For the core person of such a powerful family, although she might not know anything and would not mind anything, the people below would not. Maybe what he said every sentence will be analyzed and dealt with by relevant people afterwards. Even his identity as an outsider and what he did on the alien planet will probably be investigated. Of course, it's not that simple to investigate. Originally, a giant like North Star didn't have much communication with the outside world. In addition, Jia Yan was a sudden outsider, not even from the Milky Way Central Star region. I wanted to investigate him. His true identity is probably a long-term job. Moreover, Jia Yan's identity is not afraid of investigation, and a person from a remote area is not allowed to come to the center of the Milky Way. Okay, I understand. I'm glad to meet you today. Goodbye. I'm leaving. Although this little devil is a bit naughty, he always reveals the upbringing and shrewdness of a big family. Just listening to Jia Yan's words, you know that there will be no further communication between the two of them, and her status cannot make her entanglement again. She asked Jia Yan to play with her, so she said goodbye loudly, flew up from the box controlled by Jia Yan, and then flew towards the fox creature below. This little princess is actually at the galaxy level, very powerful. Only at this moment did Jia Yan feel that her flying speed was actually at the level of a galaxy. In other words, even if she didn't use all the means on her body, it would not be easy for Jia Yan to capture her. Of course, the opponent's galaxy level is only a galaxy level that has just been reached, and it will not be a galaxy level that has been reached after a long battle. Such a young child, even if he is the master of power, will not be put on the battlefield to hone his skills. But judging from the information Jia Yan has, this princess is really very young, only about 20 Earth years old. She can be said to be a child on Earth, but she has reached the galaxy level. It can be seen that the other parties how terrible racial talent is. Boy, you did a good job. You will have another deposit on your brain tomorrow. The calm voice of the Fox Domain Lord creature actually reached Jia Yan after the little devil creature flew to his side. Before Jia Yan could turn his head to look, he saw the fox creature swinging its tail long, letting the little devil creature sit on his tail, curling up, and soaring into the sky, twice as fast as Jia Yan's full speed. The ones above were flying towards somewhere at lightning speed. We can basically rule out the possibility of a territory lord creature joking with me. After all, how can there be such a full territory lord creature? In other words, it is absolutely certain that this little devil creature is that kind of princess. Even though he had just experienced all this, Jia Yan felt that this matter was a bit absurd. Inexplicably, the wild man had a friendly exchange with the core figure of the family that controlled the entire land, and even played with her for a long time. This was like playing in the wild. On Earth, children who go out and meet the head of state are treated as if they have been playing with each other all day. It's definitely something strange. Even the tiger was taken away. The little devil princess just said something on the road, saying whether the meat of the tiger creature was very fragrant. It shouldn't be. Fortunately, I didn't agree to work under her account, otherwise there would be no way. One day she said she wanted to taste mosquito meat, and I was in trouble. Jia Yan knew that no matter how awesome he thought he was, he really had no power against the master's family. If he really went to work under the other party's account, his life and death would be in the palm of his hand. There is no other possibility at all. This is also the reason why Jia Yan does not go to work under this princess. No, I have to avoid the limelight for a while. Regardless of whether the princess herself has malicious intentions, but for security reasons, they will probably focus on investigating me again, or even arrest me neatly. Through too much knowledge, Jia Yan knows how exaggerated the security of important people is. Not to mention that he also played to death with the princess for a long time. If the investigation reveals many doubts about his origin, will there be any doubts about the power of these people? Other actions, even exaggerated to the point of simply killing Jia Yan to eliminate possible dangers, are all uncertain. Thinking of this, Jia Yan felt a little nervous. Before the sun was about to set, he recognized the direction, then got close to the ground and flew quickly into the mountain forest. No matter what, the biggest limitation in the North Star is the North Star itself, which is also Jia Yan's biggest advantage. Especially in terms of escaping, he has entered the depths of the jungle. As long as he is not a creature with unique means, it is very difficult to track him. Difficult. It quickly became dark. Although he doesn't know that he is neurotic, this level of alertness is what he relies on to survive for so long and survive every battle. What's more, he is already patrolling in the outside world, and flying around is very difficult. No one sees normal things, right? Perhaps it was because Jia Yan had enough awareness of danger, or maybe the blind cat encountered a dead mouse. In short, in the jungle that Jia Yan flew into, there were actually two shadows of biological powerhouses, following Jia Yan calmly. After traces. This creature is quite powerful. It's interesting that Mr. Tanuki asked us to track it. And he's also very alert. If he doesn't have ulterior motives, he would be very useful in our department. I just don't know if this guy can escape our eyes. Haha, actually we don't have any malicious intentions, we are just investigating. If he continues to escape, we will really think that he has ulterior motives. The two figures were one behind the other. Although they could not see the giant mosquito flying in the distance, they were able to follow the traces of brainwave power in the air and trace them in the right direction. Although Jia Yan has the advantage of flying and can blend into the dark night, he is a native creature after all, especially a talent in tracking. How can it be possible that he is really better than these special talents? Of course, this is not yet a true pursuit and escape battle. If the pursuit is carried out with all-out flying speed, Jia Yan believes that as a flying creature and with the peak strength of the middle-level galaxy, besides the presence of the Territory Lord, Jia Yan can catch up. It's not that simple for other creatures to hunt you down. Of course, the situation has not reached that level yet. Just as the two creatures following behind said, they were just investigating and did not think he had any ulterior motives. Puff. In a place covered by severe forest, Jia Yan got into the jungle. Bang. At the same time, his brainwave power exploded in the air, causing energy chaos in the air in a large area. In this way, his traces will be lost in the entire jungle, which will cause trouble to the trackers, at least for a short period of time. Jia Yan was hiding in the jungle, watching the outside world calmly with his compound eyes. Then he quickly spotted the two figures flying over the area one after the other like ghosts. There really is. Jia Yan shook his head slightly with a complicated heart. Although he had some suspicions in his heart, he still felt a little bit unhappy after seeing these two figures following him. It's just a matter of playing with the other party's princess for a while, why should he be so aggressive? Alas. In this way, your princess will have no friends, do you know? Jia Yan looked at the two figures speechlessly. He was slightly confused due to the chaos caused by the explosion of his brainwave power. He no longer cared about how long it would take for the other party to find him, and slowly retreated into the depths of the jungle, and then hide in the bushes and put your thoughts on your brain. Although if he went out and made it clear now, it would probably be okay, but Jia Yan felt that he still couldn't leave his own safety to others in this North Star. Of the two trackers, there must be at least one creature who is at the top of the intermediate level of the galaxy, or both of them are at the top of the intermediate level of the galaxy, and they are local intermediate peaks of the galaxy. Not to mention that their talent is likely to catch up with Jia Yan, just that they are. Having such an advantage over the native creatures means that he has the right time, place, and people. Jia Yan believes that he may not be able to defeat any of the same level of the master family, because one of his strongest fighting methods is simply not available at this time. Yin-Yang Dao can be used, but another means of combat and the best means of escape must also be researched. Although the possibility of complete utilization is not great, there is a possibility of using it slightly. In fact, it has been it's available. Jia Yan diverted the two men away for a while, in fact, just to buy himself a certain amount of time to become more proficient in the subspace. It's not necessarily a bad thing to improvise. At least Jia Yan has been prepared for it for a long time, but he just doesn't have a driving force to push himself to conduct formal research. Buzz. Opening the public program on his brain, Jia Yan once again consumed today's 100 channels. Find the bookstore. Fortunately, there is still a network within 200 kilometers of the mine. Otherwise, Jia Yan would not be able to open this channel in a place where there is no network. Today's start is different from usual. When Jia Yan turned it on for the first time, he suddenly used his brainwave power. Puff. The channel that had just been opened for a moment should have intercepted a trace of Jia Yan's brainwave power and then closed it instantly. However, he suddenly used a larger part of the brainwave power, and this power was different from what he had just revealed, giving the verification of strength energy conveyed by the public program headquarters is not relevant at all. This greater energy is maintained in the passage of subspace. Click. What was originally just a trace of space channel was directly opened by him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletin Yu. Chapter 2229. Latest website, Humming. The space passage gradually becomes larger. Very good, just as I expected. Although Jia Yan has been able to tear apart the subspace on his own without using the channels of public procedures in several studies, the subspace inside the North Superstar he tore was like tearing apart a door hundreds of meters thick. Likewise, not only is the force of tearing apart huge, but the pressure of tearing apart is extremely terrifying. And his previous idea was to use the tearing effect in this public program, borrow the stable channel calculated by the other party through unknown means, and expand this stable channel, and then expand it. Ordinary subspace talents cannot reach this level, but Jia Yan is different. His subspace talent can be said to be at the forefront even among those with the same talent as the North Star. So this move actually succeeded for him. He didn't dare to try it before because he was afraid of danger, but now because of the intervention of external forces, he didn't develop the ability to protect himself more confidently. The danger here was greater, so he was motivated. But at this time, everything was as he expected. The cracked subspace finally reached a level that was large enough for him to enter it alone. However, Jia Yan did not stop the experiment, but continued to expand the space rift until it reached 5 meters high and 5 meters wide, enough for many Jia Yan to fly into it at the same time. Only then did it stop expanding. The behavior of it's quite tiring, but the result is very good. What I have to do now is to test whether I can enter it and the speed of opening it. If the speed cannot keep up, I can't treat it as my normal speed like before. Escape and combat means are still a loss to combat effectiveness. Of course, combat effectiveness cannot be achieved overnight. I am just doing my best to understand destiny in this 100 opportunities. Jia Yan can achieve this progress, which is actually an inevitable result. Because no matter what, he is still at the peak of the middle level of the galaxy, one step away from the Domain Lord level. There is no reason that what a Domain Lord creature can do easily, he, a talented being who specializes in subspace, cannot do it. Although the Territory Lord is very different from the middle-level peak of galaxy, it cannot be so different. So Jia Yan can do these things, that is, study the issue of time. As for the speed of opening and entering the subspace or the effect of entering it, that is really related to strength and talent. Buzz. Jia Yan first took a small object from his suitcase and threw it into the open subspace. Sure enough, just as Jia Yan thought, the pressure in the space this time was so great that the object thrown into it was directly crushed into a lump by the pressure in the subspace. This is different from the deep-level space in the outside world. For example, in the 10-dimensional subspace, it only increases the power of chaotically cutting objects, but it does not mean that the pressure increases. In essence, it is different from the subspace here in the North Giant, because the surface subspace in the North Giant, in the true sense, it is still a subspace, but it has been infinitely compressed. Of course, Jia Yan would not dare to say that such a violent one-dimensional space is one-dimensional. Who has ever seen a one-dimensional space that would be crushed by a piece of dense material from the Northern Giant? Come again. This time Jia Yan took a metal basin from the North Star. This basin was also for convenience when going out or for washing. After all, he has a body like this and it is convenient for washing, so it is natural to buy such a thing. The standard metal objects in the Northern Star have different levels of hardness and density. When placed outside, this metal basin is equivalent to the metal density of an ordinary battleship shell. Click. Without exception, the metal basin was also crushed into a pile after entering the subspace. Jia Yan's face looked a little ugly now. Look at the metal mine. I took this metal mine from the mine before, but I specially picked a piece with a hardness comparable to that of an ordinary venerable level body. I threw it in and it will definitely be able to withstand it. It won't know how long you can take it. Jia Yan took out a piece of metal ore that he picked up from the mine yesterday. This piece is one of the harder mother ores among a large number of minerals. The value is not too high. The only advantage is that it is extremely hard. Jia Yan threw it into the subspace. Buzz buzz. As expected, the minerals that entered the subspace were not crushed into a lump like the previous substances. Jia Yan looked at the minerals floating in the subspace and kept counting silently in his heart. Finally, when the 5th second was counted, the already extremely dense mineral was squeezed and compressed into a lump again. 5 seconds. Now you can make a rough judgment. Finally, having data that could be compared, Jia Yan began to calculate silently. The hardness of this piece of material is at the level of the venerable, and his body has reached the peak of the intermediate galaxy, but it cannot be calculated this way. If he moves in the subspace, the pressure on various organ parts will change from time to time, and the feeling of pressure is absolutely will be bigger. To put it in general terms, even if I use the Azure defense ability, I am afraid that I can only stay in this subspace for about 10 minutes, and my movement speed inside cannot be too fast. If it is too fast, it will shorten the time greatly. Of course, the specific retention time can only be calculated after entering into it. In short, the first step is a good one. It roughly allows me to understand whether it is feasible for me to enter the subspace. Snapped. At the same time, the first opened subspace was directly destroyed. Jia Yan felt that his brainwave power was greatly consumed. This was because he had been maintaining the use of this subspace gap. However, he did not stop all this, but watched the two figures from the outside world searching from time to time, and started the public program again, and with the help of the channel of this program, he reopened a subspace gap. Buzz. A method similar to cheating made Jia Yan gradually familiar with the opening plan. This time he opened it faster, taking only about 10 seconds. Although 10 seconds is nothing to a strong creature, With that much time, a powerful enemy would be enough to kill Jia Yan hundreds of times. But having this kind of opening speed is okay. In some moments of despair and a little time, it is enough to save lives. The only problem is that without the channel guidance of the public process, it may take several minutes for Jia Yan to open the subspace by himself. Forget it, you always need to train for things you start on your own, otherwise how can you get it right in one step? Everything needs to be done step by step. Jia Yan understands this principle very well. In this attempt, he finally used his feet to activate the blue defense and penetrated it. Yin yin yin. The subspace is different from what Jia Yan has experienced before. As soon as he entered, he felt earth-shattering pressure on his feet. This was not subspace at all, but the feeling of forcefully drilling into the interior of an extremely dense planet. Hey, I see, is this the pressure? Come in. Jia Yan felt the pressure on his feet, finally smiled, and then his whole body suddenly plunged into the dense space where distortion and pressure coexisted. Whew! The next moment, the torn subspace suddenly closed. Puff! However, about 10 meters away, a blue foot stabbed fiercely out of the subspace. After that, a hole opened in the subspace. However, this hole was extremely difficult to tear, and it took a long time to tear it apart. After half a minute, a giant mosquito figure appeared, its whole body covered with azure light, and it squeezed out fiercely from it. The feeling of breathing out is so difficult. Without the guidance of a public procedure, I feel like I am getting out of a sponge that is squeezing me all the time. My body is about to be pulled into the subspace by the subspace. Finally, inside the North Superstar, Jia Yan successfully moved within subspace for the first time. Even if it's just 10 meters of movement, this is valuable experience. It is also a milestone, because subspace is a trump card in his conventional combat methods. Without this trump card, it would be like losing at least one-third of his combat effectiveness. It seems that you need pressure to succeed in anything. Without pressure, you are unwilling to take risks. The same is true for me. Without the pressure of these two guys, I would not have the motivation to take risks. Jia Yan looked at the outside world again. The two big shadows seemed to be vaguely aware of the movement on his side. After a moment of gratitude, he didn't think about meeting him. He turned around and returned to the place where the suitcases were placed. Pull up this box and run away quickly. At the same time, the azure radiance on the surface of his body gradually converged. Not long after, two ghostly figures arrived deep in the bushes where certain traces were still left. That guy just stopped here. Humph, it seems that I am still studying something. It's really leisurely. He knew that we were tracking behind him, and he still had such courage. If we hadn't been ordered not to cause the other party to misunderstand, we would have used the combat mode tracking method. How could he escape our tracking? The two creatures snorted coldly and didn't say much. They looked at the direction Jia Yan left just now and followed up calmly. After a while, the three creatures kept going around in this huge mountain forest area. Jia Yan did not fly out of the jungle, because it was easier for the other party to catch him outside the jungle, so he simply stayed with him in the jungle. The other party is going around in circles. These people want to play anyway, so just play with them. He finally understood that these two guys didn't seem to have any intention of fighting, because in both cases, both sides saw each other. He didn't speak, and the other side didn't speak either. He just saw Jia Yan retreating away again. At the same time, follow up again. Since they are just chasing, Jia Yan is not too worried. It is just the process of studying the subspace that cannot be shown to them. This kind of gadget with a little bit of a trump card is seen by a strong person who may be an enemy. That is useless. Puff. For the 50th time, he used the open program channel to quickly open the subspace. Jia Yan entered it and then drilled out again from a distance of nearly 100 meters. Jia Yan was satisfied. You can already move 100 meters in the subspace. This 100 meters is in the subspace of the North Star. The distance is far enough. Look at these two guys. Hey, are you confused? Jia Yan watched from a distance. The two galaxy-level powerhouses who had just chased him to the previous 100 meters were stunned and didn't know where their prey had gone. They sneered. With this benefit alone, he felt that tonight's research was not in vain. However, the speed of coming out of the subspace is too slow. The time you can stay in the subspace is about 10 minutes at the limit. The faster you move, the greater the pressure, and the shorter the time you stay. Coupled with the struggle to get out of the subspace, the speed will be even slower. How about using the public program's channel guidance to help me open the subspace? Things like subspace are actually slower at the beginning, just like a balloon. The initial puncture is difficult. After the breakthrough, the speed will be much faster. Of course, it is impossible to explode like a balloon as soon as it breaks through. Even if you pierce the first hole and then drill out of the subspace, you will have to consume a lot of strength. Jia Yan is trying to speed up this process as much as possible and reduce his own energy consumption. Groan. After a while, he took advantage of the two strong men to search and leave. He went to the previous place and dragged his suitcase. Then he ran to another uninhabited place and opened the subspace passage. This attempt is to use the public program channel to help when leaving the subspace. Fortunately, Jia Yan's brain is a strong version. Because of its small size and sufficient materials, at least in this space, it was not crushed by the pressure. Puff. As expected, using the passage guidance of the public procedure, Jia Yan broke through a small hole between the sub-rows in one fell swoop. The next thing was much simpler, just squeeze out hard. Harder. He remembered the self-cultivation process in the pond when he was a child. This scene is so similar. I didn't expect that with this kind of strength, I could still have this kind of understanding. Thinking about life, isn't it true that one after another is similar? But I thought too much. The galaxy level is the galaxy level. If you compare yourself to your weak self when you were young, you would be looking down on the current Jia Yan. Bang. Soon, a soft voice appeared in the bushes. Jia Yan emerged from the subspace, and the blue color of his body this time was much dimmer than before when he could illuminate a bush. This means that he must have spent much less time this time. In terms of drilling time alone, it has been shortened by more than 10 seconds. This is the help of the Open Program channel. Very good, one advantage is established one by one. I used to think that it would take a while before I could take advantage of the subspace talent. Now, it doesn't seem like it will take that long. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2230. Latest website. Jia Yan smiled slightly, then looked at the only 30 or so opportunities for public program subspace passage, and simply gave up the research, instead retaining these times. Now that you know that these subspace opening opportunities are helpful to you, you must save some of them. Otherwise, if you really need to save your life, you won't be able to use them. Then you won't want to cry without tears. If the domain master creature who invented the public program knew that his public program was actually used in this way, I am afraid he would be shocked and would train Jia Yan, a foreign subspace talent, as his apprentice. However, Jia Yan will not tell this matter, and even the fact that he has subdimensional talent will not be publicized everywhere, so it must be difficult for the Territory Lord to know about it. As mentioned before, the limit for Jia Yan to become a North superstar is to cultivate to the Territory Lord level. If he has to reach the strength of a Territory Lord, why should he become the disciple of another Territory Lord? Even if the other party is not an ordinary domain master. Within North Star, there may be many people who understand that there is still a gap between Territory Lords and Territory Lords. There are even many territory lord creatures who have to worship another territory lord as their master to facilitate a glimpse of the higher realms. Strength. But for an outside powerhouse like Jia Yan, he was ignorant about even the galaxy level at the beginning. Even before, he was very confused between the territory lord and the ordinary galaxy level. He didn't know the difference between the two. Therefore, it is impossible for him to change his mind all of a sudden. In short, Jia Yan did not have the slightest idea of becoming a disciple again. Instead, he stayed in this bush, leaving the remaining 30 or so opportunities to open the public program, and tried to open the closed subspace by using the power of his brain waves. However, this process is much more difficult. Even if his talent is good and his strength is not low, not to mention the slow opening speed, the power consumed is also huge. After opening it a dozen times, he feels that the power is a bit weak, so he quickly stops this process. In the bushes in the distance, it was obvious that the two strong men had located Jia Yan again and followed him angrily. The two sides had nothing to hide at all, they just stood in the two opposite jungle areas, staring at each other. "My lords, I wonder why you are following me in the middle of the night." Jia Yan had some free time and asked calmly. "We are just curious about who you are. What? Do you have a guilty conscience?" The two of them were very single. They pretended not to understand what Jia Yan asked and just muddled through. "Am I guilty of being a thief?" "Haha, it's better to say that the two are guilty of thief, right? I'm a guard in the mine, and I'm on patrol here. You two unknown people are wandering around nearby. I think it's you. The problem is relatively big." Jia Yan's expression remained unchanged and he used his eloquence to compete with the opponent. With the current strength, it is difficult to fight one against two. These two strong men must also be above the middle level of the galaxy. One of them must have the strength of the peak of the middle level of the galaxy. In addition, they have the strength of native creatures in the North Star. With bonus, Jia Yan couldn't guarantee that his strength would be comparable to that of his opponent. So if he can move his mouth, he will never do it. The so-called gentleman talks but does not use his hands. "How dare you, a small mine worker, still want to compare with us? We are the owner of this great area, the personal guard of Princess Sela." The other party revealed his identity with just one word and no longer tried to hide it. So you two sirs are here to investigate me? But I had a very happy relationship with your princess yesterday, and there was no disagreement at all. If you are investigating me like this, do you think you don't take your princess seriously? Yes, I am her friend after all." Jia Yan was slightly startled at first and was shocked by the other party's straightforwardness. Then he had an idea and followed their words to give himself a sense of justice. The two people on the other side laughed angrily at Jia Yan's sharp tongue. "You are just a task worker, and you pretend to be a friend of the princess. How can you be a friend of a person you meet on the road? Don't put gold on your face. We are just here to see what kind of person you are. It's just your identity, and besides, Jia Yan, we have already investigated you as a foreigner, so don't underestimate the power of the master's power in this area." When the other party directly called out his name, Jia Yan felt a chill in his heart and felt bad. But it's right to think about it. He acted in the outside world and left many clues. He disclosed the procedures and the original place of Ludi Forest. Many people also understood that he was a powerful alien from outside and a member of the master family. If your own family can't find out his origin, that's pretty useless. It's just that the efficiency is a bit fast. In less than half a day, a large amount of his information was dug out. Thinking about it, Jia Yan has nothing to be afraid of. He has not committed anything, nor does he want to do anything to the princess. The encounter between the two was completely accidental. If this is all his fault, the master family is too unreasonable. "You two, why are you investigating me? I don't remember committing any crime since I arrived at Biostar." Jia Yan did not deny whether he was an outsider, but put his foot forward extremely calmly, showing that he was very innocent. Although everyone knows that no matter where he is placed, a person who can reach the level of the galaxy will not be stained with a trace of blood, but Jia Yan has never done anything bad since he arrived at the North Star. I have never broken any laws. Even the only way to make money in the beginning was to use public procedures to make a little money. Of course, if you insist on asking whether he killed some protected animals in the Ludi forest, that would be a stretch. He could just say that he has just arrived in Biostar, and he doesn't understand what is a protected animal and what is not. What's more, no one has reported the information in Ludi forest until now. It is very difficult to investigate and collect evidence in the chaotic forest. It is even possible that Jia Yan did not kill any protected animals. We are not saying that you committed a crime, it is just a routine matter. Jia Yan, let's do this. You come with us to the intelligence office to investigate, and we will let you go if nothing happens. Among the two strong men, the one who looked stronger said this after thinking for a while. In his mind, Jia Yan left with them, so it wasn't they who had the final say in what happened next? That's not okay, you two, I still have a job. Jia Yan didn't want to go with them because of what he did to them, but Menerking had been in so many high-level positions in the past, and he had done similar things several times, so how could he be fooled? Don't want to leave? Then. Another strong creature's expression became cold. Since Jia Yan said he wouldn't go, they could attack him for disobeying orders. But before he wanted to take action, his expression moved slightly. Another person next to him who was stronger than him sent a message to him. I don't know what he said, but this man stopped. Forget it, Jia Yan, just do this for now. Don't dislike us and just follow. We want to investigate your behavior. Oh? Follow me? Okay, if you don't find it troublesome, that's fine. I don't want to leave anymore. I've been walking for most of the night and I have to rest now. Jia Yan smiled, just took the box, climbed into it, lay down in the space inside the box, and began to fall asleep. He was also tired this night and really needed a good rest. In the North Star, the physical exertion and brainwave power are extremely high. Because he needs to fight against external pressure all the time, Jia Yanzhen needs to rest every few days. But this time he said he was resting, but in fact he still retained a certain amount of brainwave power to be vigilant. For a person like him who can multitask, this kind of thing is still easy to do. Really asleep? Isn't this guy from the outside world? He can actually fall asleep so easily in a strange environment and in front of a strange strong person. Hey, I'm afraid that in the outside world, a galaxy-level person like him is already considered a strong person. In my own family's power, no strong person will be hit on the head for no reason, so get used to resting in front of others. This way there are not even 1,000 but 800 outsiders who die every year. If he exists like this, he is not worthy of our investigation. The two of them smiled coldly and had no intention of waking up Jia Yan. Jia Yan was running around in the jungle just now. Although they were able to find each other every time, they didn't expect that this guy's escapability was still a bit strong. They lost their target several times, so now if Jia Yan is willing they can also take a good rest, so as not to wake them up and run around again, causing trouble for them. While these two strong men were resting indifferently, new news came from time to time in their minds, all of which were information about Jia Yan. The existence of a princess who controls power is so important that everyone she comes into contact with must be carefully checked, because there are many external or internal forces all the time, trying to control these things. The calculations of the direct lineage within the controller's power. So that's why they're so strict. It is best not to turn suspicion into suspicion and suppress innocent people indiscriminately, or even kill them. Although it will not be a big problem if you do it, the master's power can manage such a huge area, and it is not always possible to use cruelty. Of the criminal law, otherwise the people's hearts would have long since disappeared. Under such a good governance concept, Jia Yan was not forcibly arrested and had a good and peaceful sleep. During the whole process, the other party gradually relaxed its supervision of him through intelligence and mission content sent from time to time, and even roughly decided that it would be okay to let him leave. But what he never expected was that when the sun gradually rose and a new day arrived, Jia Yan had just woken up, and there were new changes. That was a small shadow flying from the sky. Jia Yan, I'm here to play with you. The shadow of the little devil drew a long black shadow in the sky. Behind her, in the hiding place, was following the fox-like territory lord creature. However, at this time, he no longer had the demeanor of a territory lord creature, but only slightly. There was bitterness following behind the little devil. This territory lord couldn't figure out why his little princess, after having some fun with the flying alien creature, couldn't forget it when she looked back, and even asked someone to give Jia Yan's information to her. I was even more excited after watching it, and I wanted to come and play with each other again no matter what. He is just a guard leader. Although he has certain real power, he can't refute what the princess really wants to do. He can only persuade her. If the princess doesn't listen, there is nothing he can do. Even in the master's power, except for a few core people, almost no one can stop her, a little princess who is loved by the family master and others, from doing what she wants to do. Jia Yandu had just woken up, feeling refreshed and enjoying the morning in this northern superstar. He didn't expect to hear the little milky sound he heard yesterday, and he suddenly turned his head in surprise. He was also a little weird when he saw the little demon creature flying from the sky. Could this little princess be attracted to me? Why did she come to play with me again? Good morning, Your Highness Princess, why are you free to play with me today? Jia Yan said with a smile. I've read your information. Are you from outside? I rarely meet people like you. Moreover, you talk funny and know many tricks of playing outside. Please show me some fun outside today. Let's play tricks. It turned out that the little devil found out that Jia Yan came from the outer starry sky and took a fancy to Jia Yan's playful tricks. Yes, but Your Majesty Princess, could you ask your subordinates to stop supervising me like this? I'm a little scared. Jia Yan's mosquito compound eyes flashed with countless little princess looks, and then he pointed at the two powerful men not far away who were about to leave quietly. The little devil looked in the direction he pointed, and naturally saw two guard subordinates whom she had met before. As a princess who has power, she naturally knew what these two subordinates were doing. Suddenly his face turned red and he was angry. Okay. You two are still here to do bad things to my friends. Be careful, I will beat you up. Get out of here. You are not allowed to mess with my friends again in the future. Yes. I will never dare to do it again. The slightly stronger one of the two was immediately frightened and saluted the little devil respectfully. Then he used full speed and fled away from the place. This little princess is quite domineering. Jia Yan looked at it with envy. Look at people, galaxy-level subordinates are scolded like this. I have been in the starry sky for so long, and it seems that I don't have any galaxy-level subordinates. After all, Jia Yan is also a strong man who has been around the stars for a long time, and has even established several factions. But looking back, it seems that he really doesn't have any Zing-level subordinates. This was something that made him a little bit stunned. After all, in outer space, as a peak mid-level warrior in the galaxy, if he really wanted to collect it, a junior subordinate in the galaxy might still receive it. But the problem is, Jia Yanzhen just doesn't have it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2231. Latest website, there are not even any subordinates at the galaxy level, let alone a little devil who yells at the two galaxy level subordinates, who may even have similar strength to Jia Yan. So cool, so cool. Okay, I'll let them go. You don't have to be afraid. No one will dare to deal with you like this again. The little devil princess showed her little tiger teeth, laughed and returned to Jia Yan, folding her arms as if she was great. Jia Yan knew what she wanted to hear and quickly said respectfully, "Your Highness Sila is so amazing." "It's nothing, ha 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 ha, just call me Sila. I allow you to call me that, because you are my friend." The little devil couldn't help laughing after hearing Jia Yan's praise. "Jia Yan, have you prepared any tricks for me today?" She looked at Jia Yan expectantly. As a princess, she played a lot of tricks. She actually didn't think about playing with this flying creature again yesterday. However, after returning to the princess palace in the Nyoda area, she occasionally heard the subordinates around her introduce Jia Yan's origins to her and said that he was a strong alien from another planet. Her curiosity was immediately aroused. "I want to see what interesting things there are in aliens." Otherwise, based on Jia Yan's performance yesterday, although it was quite interesting, it was not enough for her to come back and play with this person a second time. After all, as a princess, she also has requirements for finding people to play with. Princess is so elegant, what do you want to play?" "Well, today I will teach you to play a game that children in my hometown play, called hide and seek, okay?" "Wow, hide and seek. It must be fun, I want to play." When the little devil heard what Jia Yan said, he suddenly became interested. But after knowing that this hide and seek game was hide and seek, she was still a little disappointed, because even in Biostar, there would definitely be similar games. "Princess, our hide and seek is different. We can hide in the jungle. There are many places for us to hide. This will also have more fun. What do you think?" Jia Yan is actually not very willing to take care of this child, so he came up with the hide and seek game. When she becomes a ghost, Jia Yan can just find a tree hole or something, hide it for a long time, and she can probably survive it. Until she got tired of it. And with the princess scoring twice, after visiting her own palace, the fox strongman behind her must not tell his subordinates to investigate Jia Yan, and it may even be detrimental to Jia Yan, otherwise I will do it next time. The second princess suddenly remembered such a flying creature and wanted to play with Jia Yan. What should she do? It was because Jia Yan grasped this point that he felt more assured about his own safety. Of course, if he is given another period of time, he can use more skilled subspace abilities. By then, he feels that even if an ordinary domain lord comes to arrest him, as long as there is a certain time gap, you can escape. "Princess, I'm here, where are you?" In the woods, Jia Yan walked around aimlessly. He ignored the little black tail swinging back and forth in the leaves of a certain tree. Anyway, it gave the princess face, and he could waste some time and save trouble. Finally, more than 10 minutes later, when his tail was wagging more and more fiercely, and he seemed a little impatient, Jia Yan suddenly pointed at the leaves. "Haha, I found you, princess. Wow, you found me. Now it's your turn. Hurry up and hide." The little devil emerged from the leaves and told Jia Yan to dodge quickly. She said she was used to playing hide and seek, but when she actually played it, she still found it very interesting. No one could escape the true fragrance theorem. After all, children, even this little princess, know a lot of things, but she has not given up her innocence. "Huh? I don't know where you went, it's amazing, I can't even find you." The little devil named Sila was amazed. After searching for about half an hour, she did not give up. After searching for another half an hour, her expression showed a hint of displeasure. At the same time, she heard a slight sound of movement. As a galaxy-level creature, she quickly felt that the sound was coming from the hollow of a giant tree. She immediately flew to the tree hole, pointed at the tree hole and shouted, "Ha ha ha, I found you, Jia Yan. Come out. She had beads of sweat on her face from playing, and she was very happy when she found the target. Princess, look, it's almost half a day. You should go home. Jia Yan emerged from the tree hole and said helplessly. He thought that after the princess had been looking for him for an hour, she would get bored and give up. Unexpectedly, children are easily satisfied and were almost impatient, but once they found Jia Yan, she seemed extremely happy. No, let's play for another hour. This time we won't play hide and seek. You take me to fly? I'm going to the clouds today. The little devil pointed to the sky. Jia Yan followed the direction she pointed, and then grinned, trying not to cry. You know, if it is the clouds on the earth, it is nothing. Let alone flying above the clouds, Jia Yan can enter space just by standing on the earth. But it's different in the northern giant. The northern giant is unique in that it's so big that the planet's atmosphere is extremely thick. To get to the clouds, it seems like you have to fly hundreds or even thousands of kilometers. How tiring it is to fly. And we definitely can't go back and forth in an hour. Forget it, I'll find out later when I take you flying. Jia Yan looked helplessly at the fox creature in the distance and found that the other person had no intention of comforting the little princess at all. It seemed that the little princess had a very high status in the family, so under normal circumstances, she would do whatever she said. Who? Jia Yan didn't say anything, let the little princess sit on his back, and then flew into the sky. This little devil was quite happy at first, kicking his bare feet and laughing constantly. But after flying for 20 minutes, she realized something was wrong. Jia Yan, are you flying or not? Why haven't those clouds arrived yet and they still look so far away? Princess, please don't accuse me wrongly. If you look back, you will know that the clouds on our northern giant star are very high. If you want to reach the clouds, it will definitely take a long time. Jia Yan looked innocent. Ah, then, forget it, otherwise it will be up in an hour, let's go back. Jia Yan looked at the little princess on his back in surprise, and then he realized that even though this little devil had a childlike temper, she was still from the master family, and the children raised in such a family were extremely well educated. If you tell me to play for another hour, she will comply. So after flying for more than 20 minutes, it was too late to return to the ground. Okay. Jia Yan turned his head and flew downwards. Although there was no shadow of any creature in the surrounding sky, Jia Yan knew that the domain lord creature must be nearby, so he had no other plans or even any other plans to say anything to the princess. Otherwise, ordinary creatures, even if they just say something to the princess to frame others, or the princess lets out a word, even if it is just a casual remark, it can be used to turn it into a bloody storm. It is precisely because of this that the domain master creature will follow the princess step by step. As for Jia Yan's performance, the other party was actually very satisfied with it. Although it seemed like he was dealing with his own little princess, Jia Yan was very smart and knew what to say and what not to say. We're almost to the woods, is it like this again today? Alas, I have to go back. The little devil seemed to feel melancholy when he saw the woods gradually approaching. Jia Yan wanted to say something, but after all, he was not from such a big family, and he had only known the princess for a short time, so he couldn't say anything. But just when the two of them were about to fall into the woods, and almost an hour later, they were ready to separate. Bang! An earth-shattering sound of terror suddenly exploded deep in the jungle 1 kilometer away from the two. And following the explosion, an arrow, like a meteor piercing the sky, flew towards Jia Yan from the place of explosion at a speed far exceeding Jia Yan's flying speed. No, rather than flying towards Jia Yan, it is better to fly towards the little demonic creature on his back. What? Jia Yan's face changed wildly, and the little demonic creature on his back also looked blank. Then, before he had time to react, he wiped a metal circle on his wrist with his palm before he could react. Buzz. The next moment, a power that did not belong to the middle-level galaxy or even the peak of the middle-level galaxy emanated from the metal circle on her wrist. Yin yin yin. This energy was like an inflated balloon. In a thousandth of a second, it expanded to cover the little devil himself, and by the way, half of Jia Yan's body. Then, the arrow-like object emitted a thick brilliance and suddenly plunged into this energy. Boom 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 boom. The moment the two sides met, it was like two extraordinary masters colliding together. The terrifying air waves overturned the endless woods under their feet. Obviously, there should not be such a terrifying burst of power in the North Star. Yes, but unfortunately, this scene actually caused a large number of trees to collapse, and the entire forest turned into ruins. Jia Yan was also affected by the collision energy. Although the arrow was not directly aimed at him, he was a creature carrying a little devil after all. At this time, he was affected by the power, causing his whole body to be affected by the explosion of this power, and his body shrouded in the protective energy was helpless. But the other part of the body was completely destroyed. Azure Defense, activate it with all your strength. What kind of person is Jia Yan? When this power surged, he figured out why. Someone must have come to attack Her Royal Highness the Little Princess, but these attackers actually affected him, a passerby, among them. If he died because of this, Jia Yan would be so unlucky. Buzz. The half of Jia Yan's body that was exposed to the protective power turned into azure color in an instant. Half of the originally dark Mosquito turned into a translucent blue, and glowed, making it look a little holy and beautiful. And under the resistance of this azure power, the aftermath of the collision that had just affected him was actually well defended by him. Whoosh, whoosh. But this is just the beginning. After the first arrow-like object was blocked by the defensive object on the little devil's body, 3 more similar arrows were shot out from several other places in the woods. The target was clearly the little devil on Jia Yan's back. Princess. Humph. How dare you attack Princess Scylla? You are looking for death. But the little devil is not just relying on herself. Instead, there is a territory lord standing by to protect him. When the 3 arrows shot from 3 directions, Jia Yan didn't know where the fox creature came out from, and it stood in front of Jia Yan. Oh, I shouldn't say it was blocking the little devil. In front of his body, several of his tails completely enveloped Jia Yan. After that, his claws turned into sharp swords, and he struck out with one claw. One claw on each side hit the 2 arrows fired from the front. However, the arrows were shot from 3 directions, and it was impossible for him to protect the arrows from the other direction. But the fox creature wasn't too worried. Puff. The arrow shot directly at the protective force, and due to the previous resistance, the protective force was already extremely weak. The arrow shot through the protective force at once, and then aimed at the little devil's head, shooting with incomparable precision. And down. At this moment, Jia Yan also hesitated. He didn't know if he should act. If he doesn't act, if this little devil creature dies from a sneak attack on his back, he will be blamed. If nothing else, the fox creature will not let him go. But take action. This arrow seems to be very fierce. Although most of its power has been consumed when it penetrates the energy shield, the remaining power may also injure him. It's better to act. The thoughts in Jia Yan's mind only flowed for a moment before he made a decision. Under this situation, he still felt that he had to take action, otherwise it would be detrimental to him no matter what. And if he takes action, if there is no big danger, at least he will not end up being hunted down by the master's family. Boom. Jia Yan's front legs moved. Find bookstore. Moreover, the front feet that did not turn into azure blue turned directly into azure blue, aimed hard at the incoming arrow, and collided away. he was prepared for some damage to the front foot, or even a breakage at the worst possible chance. But before that, Jia Yan only saw a white and tender arm, surpassing his maximum speed, grabbing the arrow feathers that were shot. Snapped. This white and tender palm seemed to have done something ordinary. It held the entire arrow feather in its hand and held it on the arrow shaft with incomparable precision, without even a trace of scar showing. Jia Yan's front feet were frozen in place. What the hell? He was shocked. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2232. Latest website. If at this moment there is another domain lord level powerhouse who has never shown up, or something similar to a metal bracelet, taking action to stop Arrow Feather's sneak attack, then Jia Yan will not be surprised at all. Even taken for granted. Otherwise, if a little princess who is a dignified master of power is so easy to sneak attack, then this power cannot be said to be a master of power. Even if the person coming here must be a domain lord level existence, he would not think that the other party would succeed so easily. But the real situation still shocked Jia Yan. Because the person who made this move was not some other domain lord level powerhouse, nor was it the bracelet that Sila was wearing. But Sila herself. Jia Yan was really shocked. He had always believed that the little princess herself, no matter how powerful she was only a galaxy level. But looking at this white and tender palm, as well as the terrifying energy emanating from it, it is obvious that she is not an ordinary galaxy level, but a territory lord who has surpassed the peak of the intermediate galaxy level. This is really surprising, so surprising that it's shocking. The kid I dared to play with for 2 days turned out to be a territory lord. Huh? No, there's something wrong with her energy. Jia Yan originally thought that he might have met a true genius who was the most terrifying in the entire galaxy. He could cultivate to become a domain master at the age of 30 or 40. He might be the top genius in the entire galaxy, right? But when he realized it more carefully, he suddenly understood that the energy in Sila's palm was domain lord level, but this energy was only limited to her palm. There is no such terrifying energy in his arms, and as for his body, he does not look like a territory lord, but a real galaxy beginner. What happened? Jia Yan's expression changed slightly, and when he was about to take a closer look, he didn't expect that the battle situation had changed again. Click. The little devil pinched the arrow in his hand and broke it completely, and then he was so angry that his little tiger teeth were exposed. Yeah, you guys are bad guys. You attack me every time when I'm having fun. It makes me so angry. The little devil was like a fierce child, flying directly from Jia Yan's body, and then using some unknown method to fly, it suddenly accelerated to a speed exceeding Jia Yan's speed, turned into a bolt of lightning, and rushed towards that's the direction where the arrow was shot just now. Princess! Be careful! The fox-like territory lord level powerhouse shouted loudly, and then followed suit, fearing that his little princess was in any danger. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jia Yan did not dare to have the slightest idea of going forward to fight. Since even the little princess has a certain power of domain lord, then he, a strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, should not fight. Mind your own business, otherwise you'll just be a dragster. So he fell straight down, preparing to enter the jungle, and then quickly opened the subspace channel and left the war area first. Otherwise, he would be miserable when gods fight and mortals suffer. Puff. When Jia Yan fell to the ground, the fighting over there had started again. And Jia Yan soon felt that there seemed to be only one domain lord level enemy where the battle took place. As for how such an enemy caused several arrow feather shots with domain lord level strength, it was not his concern. Anyway, the domain master creatures have many attack methods. For him, it is better to leave quickly at the moment. Court death. However, when Jia Yan communicated with the open procedure and opened a channel, he suddenly heard a cold snort from the fox creature in the direction of the battle, and then a strong man who was about the peak of the middle level of the galaxy was slapped out by the fox creature with one claw. Jungle. Boom. The attack from the domain lord creature was so overbearing. But coincidentally, this strong man who seemed to be only at the top of the middle level of the galaxy was not seriously injured. He was knocked away by a blow and was only injured. What made Jia Yan even more depressed was that the direction he was hit by a claw was exactly on his side. It looked like it was calculated, flying straight towards his subspace. Even if Jia Yan rushed into the subspace now, the other party would also enter the subspace. Jia Yan felt that the fox creature was intentional. But whether it was intentional or not, it didn't matter. Since everything fell on him, he had no choice but to deal with it head on. You dare to attack Her Royal Highness the Princess, you are seeking death. Since we have no choice but to bite the bullet, we should make our voices heard. Otherwise, if others don't know about it, it will be a waste of energy. So Jia Yan roared so loudly that the whole forest was shaken. For a moment, it seemed that his strength was stronger than everyone present. The front foot became extremely blue in an instant, which meant that the hardness reached the peak he could reach. Faced with a creature that dared to attack the princess protected by the territory lord, Jia Yan had no intention of holding back. Moreover, this being that was slapped away by the fox creatures poorly resisted a territory lord. A blow from a creature. If he dared to retain his strength in this situation, he would really be seeking death. So in an instant, he used his strongest killing move. The sharp feet with azure defensive structure, and between the 2 feet, there are 2 yin and yang powers, one positive and one negative. Clang. As soon as the 2 feet struck each other, it was like positive and negative forces repelling each other, and the speed doubled or tripled out of thin air. Humph, a little passerby dares to interfere with something big like this, huh? What, so fast? The mid-level peak powerhouse of the galaxy, who was sent flying by the fox creature, actually looked down upon Jia Yan's attack at all. Although at first glance, he also understood that the insect-like creature on the passerby should be a mid-level peak creature of the galaxy. But in the North Star, every level is divided into high and low, and this distinction is extremely strict. It has even existed since the beginning of the Earth-level powerhouses. In each level, the most terrifying and greatest ones are the combat-strong ones. Such strong people can be said to be born geniuses, and their combat strength is stronger than that of ordinary creatures. In the same level, nearly invincible. Of course, when encountering the same fighting type, who loses and who wins depends on the specific battle results. Even among fighting type creatures, there are mutual restraints and strengths and weaknesses. Generally speaking, the difference between the combat type of creatures that have reached the peak of the middle level of the galaxy is even greater because of the gap in combat experience in the past. Therefore, this combat type mid-level peak creature in the galaxy did not look down upon the sight of a passerby who just played with the little princess. If they escape, it doesn't matter to them, but if they dare to take care of things, then don't blame them for being ruthless. Arrogant. This creature was a seabird-like bird. When Jia Yan stabbed him with his foot, he wanted to use his beak to stab Jia Yan's foot in pieces. But as soon as he made the move, he discovered that Jia Yan's stabbing foot had become twice as fast as after the collision. Suddenly, his eyes changed. At the peak of the middle level of galaxy, the strength is already so powerful. Generally speaking, let alone 1 or 2 times, even if the speed of improvement is 10%, it is an earth-shaking enhancement. However, this passerby creature in front of you can actually instantly double your attack speed. Could it be that this is not a passerby at all, but a secret chess piece sent by the master's family to protect the princess. Bang! There are only so many thoughts, and at the moment of shock, the two sides have already collided in one place without any tricks. What an awesome beak! Although the bird creatures were frightened by Jia Yan's speed, Jia Yan also did not gain much upper hand. After all, no matter what, the opponent is also an existence that can withstand a frontal blow from the domain lord creature without dying. Maybe the fox creature is fighting another enemy domain lord creature and did not attack the bird creature with all its strength, but he being able to survive without even being injured shows that he may be stronger than Jia Yan. So even though Jia Yan used his trump card to quickly assassinate, he was still easily blocked by the opponent's beak. The two sides fought each other, and they all retreated violently. At least with this move, there seems to be no difference. Your Excellency is also a strong combatant. Yes, I didn't expect that. We don't have any information about you. The master's family is really deep. After the bird creature retreated, it suddenly no longer looked at Jia Yan casually, but regarded him as a real opponent with a solemn expression. It was impossible for him to help in the battle behind him, and he even had to drag this strong man who might be the master's family. Otherwise, if he was driven over by such a fighting strong man, he might come with him to assassinate the master's family. The princess's domain master creature will all be in danger. A strong combatant. Jia Yan was startled for a moment, then remembered some information he found on the internet, and his heart moved slightly. It seems that this creature misunderstood itself as some kind of combat strongman. In fact, Jia Yan seemed to be very ordinary, fighting with the opponent in a lose-lose manner, but when he mentioned his feat to observe, he found that there was a slight crack on his blue defensive feat. Although this crack was quickly restored due to the characteristics of Azure defense, at this point he knew that he really couldn't defeat the same level creature in front of him in a head-on fight. To be honest, Jia Yan has always been in the starry sky, and he has always been the one to jump up and kill the enemy. In the same level, he rarely encounters any opponents, let alone falling into a disadvantage within one blow. But in this North Star, this scene really happened. I have to say that it is worthy of being the center of the Milky Way, the cultivation center of the entire galaxy. Fortunately, before he arrived at Biostar, he had corrected his mentality and knew very well that he would encounter such a scene. He also used the internal network of Biostar to inquire about the combat-type strong men. Knowing these existences, he is the most terrifying in the entire North Star, and will always stand at the top of the strongest at the same level. Nowadays, if you can't beat one of them, it doesn't matter. Jia Yan has never belittled himself or thought he was incompetent. If he can't beat him now, it doesn't mean he won't be able to beat him in the future. Isn't he not familiar with North Star yet? Your Excellency, why don't you just retreat like this? Your assassination will not succeed. Jia Yan felt the battle scene over there again and found that in the core area where he was fighting against the little devil and the fox domain master creature, both sides had some strong men at the top of the middle level of the galaxy. Among them, there is a middle level peak of the galaxy on the master's side. Even Jia Yan had never seen it before, and he didn't know where it came from. The power of the controller is indeed watertight, and judging from what the little devil said, she has been assassinated many times and has survived so many times, so this time will surely be no exception. Even if he was wrong, Jia Yan was talking to the creature in front of him just to communicate with him and say more words so that the other party would stop attacking him. Otherwise, he might be killed if his legs are exposed. Retreat? Your Excellency, are you kidding me? The other party snorted coldly, and then something seemed to be spit out from the bird's mouth. Jia Yan's eyes narrowed and he took another step back without hesitation. Behind him is the subspace channel that was opened just now, and this channel is already closing at this time. When Jia Yan stepped into the subspace passage, the bird creature sprayed out what looked like a metal bead from its mouth. And as soon as it was sprayed out, it was like a bullet, flying across a distance of dozens of meters and shooting directly in front of Jia Yan. Shut it down. At this moment, Jia Yan felt a trembling feeling all over his body, and he quickly let the subspace close and get up, because he himself had entered the subspace. Because he used all his strength, Jia Yan controlled the speed of the subspace at the moment, which was several times faster than during the experiment. This time, the space also used the channel number guidance of the public program, so the speed of closing was also very fast. However, before it was completely closed, the metal bead was sprayed in front of Jia Yan, and then shot into the subspace. The power of being closed to half was blocked, and the speed was directly slowed down. And then collided with Jia Yan's feet. The positive and negative forces repel me. Jia Yan brazenly used the strongest defensive means. Buzz. Inside the subspace, Jia Yan's subspace talent was already helping. He activated the subspace talent at the same time, plus his own positive and negative repulsive power, and directly repelled the beads that flew into the subspace in one breath. Open. However, the power of this bead was still too great. While Jia Yan completely closed the subspace, it shot into Jia Yan's foot. There was only a click sound, and another gap was shot out of Jia Yan's foot, even causing a break that runs through the entire cross-section of the foot. Jia Yan's nearly invincible azure defense actually didn't have much defensive power in front of the speed. Of course, if he didn't have this kind of defensive power, his foot would have been shot and broken under ordinary circumstances. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2233. Latest website, what a dangerous situation, condensate, fix it quickly. Jia Yan activated his own condensation to quickly repair his feet, so that at least on the surface, there wouldn't be too much damage. Of course, there are cracks inside the foot. The new condensation cannot repair it exactly like the original one at once. It will definitely be fragile for a while. In other words, the defense of the foot is not so strong. Humph, I captured this bead. Jia Yan held the bead of unknown material to his feet, then stepped back a few steps, more than 100 meters away in the normal space, and opened another sub-row door. He couldn't stay in subspace for too long, so he had to go out. These things he did in the subspace were not seen by the outside world. The bird existence even saw that after he shot out the metal beads, the beads chased the other person into the subspace, and then, like a mud cow entering the sea, there was no sound for a moment. He was dumbfounded. He even took away my exclusive weapon? What kind of strength does this guy have? At this moment, he found Jia Yan, who was knocked out of the subspace 100 meters away, and his face suddenly turned ugly. Give me back my exclusive weapon. This strong birdman crashed into Jia Yan's location. Although he knew that the opponent might be quite strong and that he was a subspace talent, he didn't have the slightest fear. At least among the top mid-level warriors in the galaxy, as a combat-type warrior, he didn't have the slightest fear. No matter who he is afraid of, no matter how strong he is, he will not raise his hand and kill him instantly. Here we go again. Jia Yan was different from this strong man. He knew that the reason why he snatched the opponent's weapon was not because of his own strength, but because he resisted with all his strength. In addition, the special characteristics of subspace helped him intercept the enemy's weapon. In fact, it was impossible for him to withstand this weapon intact. There is still a gap in strength between the two sides. But looking at the other party's expression, it seems that he hasn't realized this yet. Puff. It's not that Jia Yan is just that different in strength from his opponent, not to mention that his advantage is the yin and yang dao that no one else has ever seen. A positive and negative repulsion can double the combat power bonus. Pretending to be strong is still easy. In other words, Jia Yan hasn't fully mastered this fighting method, otherwise it's not just pretending, but he is really that strong. The 2 feet touched each other, and then the positive and negative repulsive forces appeared, and they suddenly blocked the opponent's bird's claws. When this time, Jia Yan was evenly matched with his opponent, and both of them retreated. Jia Yan breathed a sigh of relief, and the bird creature also let out a long sigh of relief. He could finally see that the insect-like creature in front of him, even though it was quite strong, was not the kind of strong man who could easily seize his combat weapons. There should have been a hint of subdimensional help in it just now. Regarding subspace, although he also knew that such talents existed and knew many creatures that became very powerful using this method of combat, he was still vague. Even if you have experience fighting such strong men and have killed them before, compared with the subspace in the universe, the subspace in the North Superstar is more difficult to enter. This also shows that ordinary strong people cannot. Maybe the strong people with subspace talents can understand the subspace relatively well, not to mention that they have also entered the subspace. Therefore, even if they can deal with the strong people who master the subspace, they will still feel a lot in their hearts. Mystery. Sir, didn't you say that it would be okay if I retreat? How about this, you hand me back my weapon, and I will leave immediately. I can't control others, but I can decide my own actions. The bird creatures no longer attacked, but looked eagerly at the metal ball-like thing held by Jia Yan. Arms. Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, then looked at the metal ball he was holding with his mid-foot, and then showed a hint of interest. Sir, if you are willing to leave, I would be very happy to see it, but I am not a fool. I gave you this weapon, what if you immediately backhanded me and attacked me? This attack just now also put me in danger. Jia Yan said calmly, but pretended that he was not seriously injured by this ball weapon. Even the cracked feet that appeared just now have been repaired by the condensation. Otherwise, the mid-level peak powerhouse of the galaxy in front of him might have come to his door long ago. After several waves of forcibly pretending to be a master, Jia Yan has reached the point where he can no longer hold on. With one or two more blows, the opponent's bird creatures will probably see that his strength is actually not enough to compete with his own. On a par with each other, that might once again strengthen the attack speed against Jia Yan. So Jia Yan also hopes not to fight anymore. But if he revealed it too directly, the other party would also notice something, so he had to pretend to negotiate terms. If just handing back the ball would bring peace, Jia Yan would be very willing to do so. He was just afraid that if he didn't have the chance, or if he handed it over, the other party would use this weapon to attack him again. Jia Yan couldn't guarantee that he would be able to block it next time. In this way, I retreat 1,000 meters, and you throw something to me. At a distance of 1,000 meters, even if I want to attack, you can easily sneak into the subspace with such a long distance, and I speak normally. Seriously, as long as you give it to me, I will leave immediately. With an unexpected mid-level peak like you, our failure this time is a matter of course, so I will not struggle, please trust me. After the strong man finished speaking, he flew directly to a direction where there was no battle. Even though Jia Yan was unwilling to return his weapon, he had no other choice, but if that situation really came to that, then this strong man would be in a fight to the death with Jia Yan. After all, for a strong man, the weapon is like a second life. The strong bird man lost the weapon carelessly. If Jia Yan does not return it, the targets of his assassination attacks in the future will definitely be transferred from the master's family to Jia Yan. On the body of a strong foreigner, until Jia Yan is killed and his weapon is retrieved. Jia Yan didn't want to provoke such a powerful enemy. Although he also wanted to study and see what the differences were in the so-called exclusive weapons for strong combatants, he didn't have that strength. If he continues to hold this strong man's weapon and the other party comes back to fight with him, his secret will soon be revealed and he may be killed. Give. When the bird creature flew 1,000 meters away, Jia Yan threw the metal ball at his feet without any thought of negotiating terms. Buzz. There was brainwave power in the space, and it quickly took over the flight of the ball. Then the ball flew directly in front of the bird creature. It opened its mouth and swallowed the ball into its stomach. Groan. On this end, even though they were 1,000 meters apart, Jia Yan was still very vigilant, and quickly used the help of the public program to open a subspace channel, preparing to attack if anything unusual happened or if the other party wanted to go back on the attack. He went into subspace to escape. After all, Jia Yan still doesn't feel that he trusts the credibility of strong people, and he must be on guard against others. But after seeing Jia Yan's actions, the strong bird man just smiled faintly, as if showing goodwill, and then flew away far away from the war zone. Just when Jia Yan was sighing, it seemed that the strong men in Biostar were quite trustworthy, when suddenly he heard applause. Okay. I didn't expect Your Excellency Jia Yan to be such a powerful combatant. Please come over quickly to help us in the battle. The voice of brainwave power coming from the distance was the fox creature who had had a conversation or two with Jia Yan. This domain lord level existence had changed from his previous extremely cold and even contemptuous attitude toward Jia Yan. His attitude changed to one where he seemed to value Jia Yan very much and became enthusiastic. Well. Jia Yan was startled, then realized. This is because people are interested in their own fighting ability. Look, the fighting over there is still going on. The two sides are fighting fiercely. It is said that the people from the master family are powerful, but this time they really met their opponents. However, the sneak attacker must have fully grasped the combat power here before he dared to take action, otherwise he would be destined to die. A domain lord creature was tied with a fox creature. Another group of strong men at the top of the middle level of the galaxy surrounded the little devil who seemed to have used some explosive secret technique, and beat the little devil princess. She was so angry. She moaned fiercely. As for the other protective guards, they also have their own opponents, and each opponent seems to be tailor-made for them. Some of them lack strength, but they are still similar to each other, suppressing the guards for a period of time. Under such circumstances, the bird creature enemy who was able to withstand the attack of the fox creature just now was forced back by an unexpected strong person like Jia Yan. The fox creature would naturally not let him go. This helps. Jia Yan hesitated for a moment, then looked at the battlefield, and finally gritted his teeth. It has come to such a time, and there has been a fight. If he doesn't help, both parties will be offended. For him, it will be an absolute loss. Besides, he is on the territory of the master's family. If you don't help, you can imagine what will happen in the future. At least as far as he could see, after the bird creature left the field, a delicate balance was formed between the two sides. If the fight continues, the master's support from afar will definitely arrive, and victory is only a matter of time. Buzz. Jia Yan ran headlong into the battle circle between a Galaxy Intermediate Summit Guard and another Galaxy Intermediate Summit Sneak Attacker. Your Excellency, I am here to help you. Assassin, please die. This time, he yelled again, as if he wished the entire battlefield could hear his words. This is like saying to the little devil and fox domain master creature, I, Jia Yan, have helped you, remember to reward you later. Click. Jia Yan's attack move is still the strongest attack under normal conditions, which is the foot repulsion attack technique of positive and negative forces. When this move is used, it feels like a fighting creature, with sufficient attack power. The enemy creature was a strong man with 5 legs. Seeing Jia Yan's approach, he quickly raised one of his legs to resist. After the blow, both of them stepped back violently. But obviously, Jia Yan retreated less. This strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy is actually a little weaker than the fighting bird creature at the top of the middle level of the galaxy just now. Jia Yan was startled. He thought that fighting creatures were as strong as the bird creature just now. But looking at it now, at least the strength of the sneak attacker is not as strong as the bird creature just now. Even if it is weak, it is limited. But in this way, it seems that Jia Yan will not be defeated in 1 or 2 moves if he fights head-on. It's just that he didn't think he would be defeated so easily, but for the opponent, Jia Yan's killer attack was completely at the level of a bird creature. He suddenly stepped back a lot, feeling horrified. As expected, he was the one who forced the captain away. This attack power is on par with the captain's. No wonder the captain withdrew. With such a strong man, he can involve the fighting power between the domain lords to some extent. If he joins the battle group, he will definitely reverse the gap between the two sides, so, our assassination will definitely fail. You know, the bird creature just now was shot away by the fox creature because it was involved in a battle between domain owners. Although he was slightly injured, it was not serious. And Jia Yan was able to force the bird creature away. Even though there was still a certain degree of combat effectiveness difference, in the eyes of others, it was definitely not much worse. So if they rashly join such a fighting mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, I'm afraid something will go wrong for them. Well done, brother Jia Yan. The mid-level peak combat creature in the galaxy who was helped by Jia Yan saw Jia Yan's attack and immediately praised Jia Yan. In Biostar, they respect the strong all the same, even more than in Aliens. When Jia Yan was playing with his little princess, they all looked down on such a strong foreigner, thinking that the other person was just the kind of sensationalist. The top mid-level powerhouse in the galaxy. But now in this war, Jia Yan is to help his friends. He can clearly leave, but he has shown that he is not inferior to the enemy captain. He has helped a lot in terms of strength, or in terms of human feelings. These guards no longer look down on Jia Yan in the slightest. Your Excellency, I was slightly injured in the battle just now. Please do your best. Jia Yan first showed off his combat effectiveness, and then laid a foreshadowing, saying that his combat effectiveness was weakened due to injuries, so as not to expose his lack of combat effectiveness later and let these strong men see that his strength was not good enough. Now that everyone is pretending, Jia Yan is ready to continue pretending. What a great contribution to saving the little princess of the master family. Jia Yan believes that he may be on the right path. Humph, what a family of masters, but there is still such a strong fighter hiding in it, right? Jia Yan, I remember you. Greetings from the last day of 2019, Happy New Year. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2234. Latest website. The domain master creature probably saw the changes here at this moment, and immediately snorted coldly, and then an ultra-high frequency scream came from its mouth. Every sneaker creature fighting against their respective opponents, after hearing the scream, immediately restrained their attacks and retreated towards the domain master creature. Although the guards also wanted to pursue them, their attributes were originally restrained by these people, and the pursuit was ineffective. So they couldn't catch up and watched them gather around the domain master creature. Let's go. The domain lord creature is so powerful. This creature directly hugged these subordinates and flew up into the sky. When it reached a certain height, a metal circle appeared under its feet, and then the circle took on the feeling of a jet. Let their speed increase to over 10,000 kilometers per hour in an instant. No need to chase, you can't catch up. At this moment, the fox domain lord creature of the master family stopped his own guards who were preparing to fly in pursuit. Then he turned around and looked at his little princess, who seemed to be fine, and then immediately turned his attention to Jia Yan. Your Excellency Jia Yan, thank you very much. When talking to Jia Yan this time, this fox creature suddenly had a rather serious attitude. This attitude comes from Jia Yan's strength. In the North Star, simply looking at a strong person's strength does not just look at his brainwave power. Countless non-combat strong men actually do not have a high status. This is why even if they know that Jia Yan is a mid-level galaxy existence, or even a peak mid-level galaxy existence, this domain lord creature treats there is still no good reason for Jia Yan's attitude. But when he knew that Jia Yan was still possessing such combat power, and that he was inextricably linked with the captain who had just attacked the people, and after taking away all their weapons, the way he looked at Jia Yan was different. This is a perfect fighting type. And he's not weak among fighting types. You must know that although he is a domain lord creature, when facing a fighting type galaxy intermediate pinnacle, he can no longer show too much condescension, because even if he leaves aside a galaxy intermediate, not to mention the combat power of peak combat type creatures, just talking about this kind of existence, it is only one step away from the domain master. Although the ratio is very low, what if they are successfully promoted? That combat power will suddenly soar to the point where it is almost the same as him. Therefore, the gaze on Jia Yan became more serious, unlike before, where he felt like he had the power of life and death and could squeeze Jia Yan whenever he wanted. "Senior, you're welcome. I wonder if I can leave? I was also injured a little, and now I want to go back to heal in a hurry." Jia Yan pretended to be retreating in order to advance. If he licked his face and asked for some reward or something at this time, I'm afraid it would make others unhappy, but what Jia Yan said was that he wanted to go back to heal his injuries, and he implicitly revealed the fact that he was also injured because of rescuing the little princess. In addition, his attitude was very upright and he did not threaten others. This way of speaking can be said to be quite wise. Sure enough, when the domain master creature looked at Jia Yan's body, he found that with his eyes, it was easy to see that Jia Yan seemed to be seriously injured, so he nodded. "Come here, take your excellency Jia Yan back to the mine. Then I will have some healing supplies, plus money to give him 10 years' salary." The fox creature's statement made Jia Yan feel hot in his heart, but he didn't pretend to say no, but nodded quickly, "Thank you, senior." After saying this, a guard from the middle level of the galaxy flew towards Jia Yan with a hint of admiration to show his friendship. He also restrained all his power and weapons. "Jia Yan, you did a good job, I will reward you, just wait for me." The little devil princess seemed to be having a hard time controlling her arm, but she still took the time to say this to Jia Yan. "Thank you, Your Highness Princess." Jia Yan nodded. Presumably he couldn't stay any longer, listen to other people's conversations or discuss strategies against the enemy. After all, he was an outsider, so he left immediately. Unexpectedly, he helped the little princess a big favor. Jia Yan thought that there was a high probability that his first adventure in Biostar would be successful. On the way back to the mine, Jia Yan did not talk to the Galaxy Intermediate Peak Guard beside him, but was thinking, this won't be entirely a good thing. Because no matter what, he took a risk in such a big scene. Although he made friends with the Master family, on the other hand, the mysterious force on the other side was offended. Seeing that the other side had domain master creatures, he could even attack if he retreats calmly after failure. He will definitely not be a simple small force. If you offend them, you will surely have bad luck and good fortune. Your Excellency Jia Yan, what are you doing? When Jia Yan and the protective equipment escorted by him returned to the location of the mine, at the same time, another protector of the first level of the galaxy appeared in the mine. He always thought that Jia Yan was just going out for fun, but now he saw that he had gone out and did something unknown, and returned with a strong man who seemed not to be trifled with. After a closer look, the first level powerhouse of the galaxy gasped, and his breathing was not smooth. Because he saw clearly that the strong man who returned with Jia Yan had a badge on his body. This badge was the badge of the Master family, the absolute ruler of this large area of hundreds of millions of kilometers. In other words, this strong man seems to be a member of the Master family. This is a serious royal army. A junior warrior like this galaxy is not a combat type existence. Seeing such a badge is like seeing a powerful character. How can I not be nervous? Don't be nervous, Your Excellency is my friend. I was a little injured and you just escorted me back. Jia Yan said this calmly. As for the strong man who escorted Jia Yan back, his expression was cold when he saw that there was only one zinc primary being in this mine, because this kind of place was like a slum to him. Same. Even he didn't understand why a strong man like Jia Yan, who was stronger than him, would go to work in such a place. Could it be that he couldn't experience life? But he had a cold attitude towards others and didn't say hello. But when he turned to look at Jia Yan, he had a different look. No matter what Jia Yan thought, his strength was real, and he might even have more in the future. Opportunities for cooperation, so even if it is not at the level of respecting the strong, but at the level of possible collaborators, Jia Yan will not be too cold towards him. Well, Your Excellency Jia Yan, since I have escorted you back safely, I will take my leave. Thank you, Your Excellency. Take care. Jia Yan said politely to the guard, and then saw the guard flying straight up in the direction he came from. Well, Mr. Jia Yan, if I remember correctly, the badge worn by this gentleman should be the badge of the master family. In this area, no one except the master family dares to wear it randomly. Could it be that this sir really yes? When the strong man left, the first level zinc strongman in front of Jia Yan suddenly became bolder and stepped forward to ask Jia Yan respectfully. His attitude was obviously more respectful than before, obviously because he had a lot of imagination after seeing Jia Yan getting so close to a guard from the master family. Yes, this strong friend is from the master family, but I won't go into details. Find me a quiet room and let me have a good rest. Thank you very much. Jia Yan slightly concealed the assassination just now. After all, it is better not to let others know too much about this kind of thing. Otherwise, a core member of the master family was assassinated in his own territory. Although it was not successful, it may also be a blow to the prestige of the master's family. He wasn't told about this kind of thing just now, so he must know about it. Okay, I'll make arrangements right away. The first level powerhouse in the galaxy looked at Jia Yan no longer with respect for the powerhouse before, but with a certain feeling of being suppressed by his class. There is already a gap in strength between the two sides. Now it seems that Jia Yan even knows people from the master's family, and that guy is obviously not a weakling, but he has a bit of respect for Jia Yan. The meaning behind this is just that it's a bit intriguing. Not long after, Jia Yan was arranged into a large room, and the environment was good. The first level powerhouse of the galaxy even used his own money to activate an energy defense device in the room. The whole room seemed to be much more powerful. It has a layer of protection, sound insulation and certain defensive capabilities. Yes, it seems that establishing a good relationship with the people of the master's family will have many benefits in this land. Jia Yan knew that if he established a good relationship with the master's family, he would definitely have enough food and clothing, and he would not use it for anything else. He only said that he had done a big favor to the other party in disguise, and he must be able to rely on this credit to gain a lot the benefits of. But the question is he ready to deal with the master's family? Will such a powerful family let Jia Yan fight for them after seeing his strength? You know, my fighting power may not be as strong as they think. If I really get close to them and I charge into battle for them, I will probably die the fastest. Jia Yan was hesitant. Although he really wanted to speed up his journey to the North Superstar and move towards the Territory Lord level, the Master's power was not so easy to get on. If someone is bad and dies here, it will really be a bit depressing. How capable I am, how much I can do, my top priority is to practice quickly. Fortunately, the Strong Fox Territory Lord just now said that he would give me 10 years salary. 10 years, this is enough for me at the current speed. If you practice for more than 2 years, you will still be practicing with all your strength. Jia Yan is extremely satisfied with the rewards of these 10 years. What's more, the Scylla little devil said that there will be other rewards in the future, so his rewards will be even more abundant. No matter that he fought with all his strength, this kind of reward is valuable. Buzz buzz. Returning to the mineland is relatively safe. Unless the mysterious force has a strong man from the middle level of the galaxy return to attack him, it is generally safe here. So Jia Yan simply shut down and used condensation to quickly recover from his injuries. At the same time, he took out the energy ore and swallowed it for himself to practice. The speed of this cultivation is much faster than before. After all, there will be a lot of money soon, so there is no need to save. In addition, he picked up Jinao and sent a message to the little fish creature who was his temporary apprentice, asking his parents if the arrangements were in place. If the arrangements were in place, when his replacement time arrived, he would go back to teach the little fish creature. For Jia Yan, teaching a small creature is not difficult. The problem is that this little fish creature is too small, and he does not have a lot of energy to teach it regularly. This is what makes Jia Yan very hesitant. But looking at it now, he feels that he is still a little out of place. Teaching doesn't really mean being someone's master for a lifetime, not to mention that if the fish creature is too small, it will always grow in the future. When it grows up, it will be different, right? All he has to do is to drive a wedge and start contacting Yin Yang Dao from a young age, and he might become the most promising disciple. There are so many things to do. Jia Yan laughed at himself, but regardless of all that, he started practicing. By the way, within this mining area, there are actually several power groups that are mining here. These forces and group companies have roughly the same strength, financial resources, and influence, so everyone has always been in peace. But in the past 2 days, the battle of the strong at the intersection of several forces, and even vaguely related to the changes in the master forces, caused great shocks to several forces. What? Why did someone from the master family come to investigate us after being attacked here? Be careful and deal with it. This is the master family. Although I don't know who was attacked, even if it is a servant of the master family, if someone is really killed, it is not our companies and forces can bear it. It seems like someone is randomly checking our minds. Damn it, we do launder some money every year. What should we do? Why did internal intelligence get a message saying that we only need to go to the Garjia Yan at the central mine and hand over a certain amount of money to avoid this disaster? These days, there are a lot of rumors about people from the master family being attacked in this mining area, and some people were killed or injured. Although it is only spread among a few high-level officials, it is enough. Even if the person who is attacked here is a servant in the master's family, it is not a pain they can bear. This is also true. It seems that the master family has not started to randomly check the safety issues here. In this small town in the mining land, there are several strong managers who manage enterprises and institutions. They come here and conduct inspections on several mines. The company began a thorough investigation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2235. What's even more amazing is that there is information coming from nowhere, saying that if these enterprises want not to be swallowed up by this wave, they have to go to the family-owned mine located in the central position among these mining forces. Find an existence named Jia Yan inside, and hand over a certain amount of assets to him, you can get the forgiveness of the owner's family. I don't know who first spread the word about this, but someone really took it seriously. Huh? Did anyone pay a visit to me? And said they wanted to give me money. And when Jia Yan, who was practicing, not only received a bank transfer of 10 years' salary from the fox creature, but also heard the news of seeking to give money from the outside world, he was completely confused. It turns out that Your Excellency is Your Excellency Jia Yan. As I said, even the master's family favors him. He is indeed a man of extraordinary strength. When he met the first person who sent money, Jia Yan almost blushed at the compliments. Oh no, he's a mosquito, so he doesn't have the blushing function. All in all, he was so embarrassed by the compliments. When he heard the compliments all the way and accepted the seemingly large amount of money, Jia Yan didn't even have the chance to ask, "Can you tell me, how strong is your strength? Why do you think I am a strong person? Or is it that my strong aura is so strong that even the North Star's characteristics can't be concealed, and I want to be seen through?" Of course, Jia Yan still understands that he is not that strong. "Let me go, it seems like another 1 year salary. Don't think that my 1 year salary is less. In fact, it is a lot after all, I am a galaxy-level powerhouse. The mine only hires a few galaxy-level people a year. After almost a year of rotating garrison, I only had to pay the salary of 2 galaxy levels on the galaxy level, which was enough to maintain the peace of a mine. And it was a big deal for them to hand over my year's salary all at once." Jia Yan couldn't help but feel happy when he looked at the amount of the so-called understanding money. From what the other party said before, he clarified the whole idea and knew why they would hand over the money to him. Daking is what the person in charge of the family said, and they are changing directions to help Jia Yan generate income. This was the first mining force to come to hand over funds. In the next day or two, more powerful forces came to the door. Every one of them was full of respect for Jia Yan, and even said all kinds of good things in their words. In their opinion, Jia Yan is probably a secret agent who controls the family and travels around the world. Otherwise, why should the money, which is the same as a fine, be turned over to him? Jia Yan didn't point it out, as long as he understood it in his heart. "It seems that after giving me this money, it can be regarded as repaying my favor. It is nearly my salary for the previous 10 years. Now I have 20 years of original salary, which is enough for me to practice 4 years with all my strength. It has been 5 years, and I am still cultivating with all my strength. If I do other things, it will be enough for me to practice for 7 or 8 years. But of course, my money will not be used only for cultivation. When I arrived at Biostar, I met a strong man. There is still a lot to do." When Jia Yan fought before, he felt that the strength of the middle-level peak powerhouse of the Bird Galaxy, in addition to his extremely terrifying combat power, also included the weapons he used, which were the weapons that Jia Yan briefly absorbed. Metal beads in the sack. Jia Yan regretted that under the circumstances at that time, it was impossible for him to take the beads as his own, because he did not have the strength. If he really didn't return it, the other party would attack with all his strength, and Jia Yan would be defeated immediately. But it would be nice to know that that thing is a weapon. Jia Yan believes that he can follow the example and find a way to see if he can get a similar weapon that is also effective against the top mid-level players in the galaxy. As a result, he has many things to do, such as weapons, knowledge, and even different secrets. Even though Jia Yan practiced like that before and didn't communicate much with the outside world, it was just a certain way. In fact, Jia Yan's previous approach, working behind closed doors, was really wrong. This point is even more obvious in the North Star. In the past, he was in the outer starry sky. Even though he was an existence that was incompatible with other strong people, because of his eccentric swordsmanship and subspace talent, he became the strongest. Another big guarantee for escape and combat is that he still has a lot of self-researched tactics, and he barely manages to keep up with his level every time. But it's different in the North Superstar. His strength does not require subdimensional talent. Although the Yin and Yang Dao still has great advantages, there is still a gap compared to a serious combat-type strongman who has experienced battles through life and death. Although the gap may not seem big, the difference is actually in systematic knowledge, experience, and even insights. This time he was able to use a certain deception method to defeat a bird creature, But what about next time? What about next time? Even if this gap continues to exist until he is promoted to the Domain Lord level, some things that he ignored during the promotion will not be promoted to the Domain Lord level. Jia Yan thinks that he may not even be the Domain Lord level. They are the weakest among them, but it is difficult to reach the strongest one. Not to mention, he might be hopeless for the rest of his life when it comes to the high level of galaxy above the Territory Lord, or even the peak strength of galaxy. Therefore, it is necessary to remedy the situation at this time. All of this requires him to spend more money and energy. Of course, this is the reason why Jia Yan entered the North Star. Only here can he have the opportunity to take a step forward, from being a person with reasonable talents to truly accumulating skills and entering a relatively powerful domain master. Jia Yan's plan is not to become a territory master like Black Sheep, but to be at least as talented as the Zerg Queen, or even better than the best. With so much money, I can stop working hard to make money. Even if I will have entanglements with the Master's power in the future, but seeing how they directly reward me, they must also use these benefits to send me away. If you don't want to deal with a powerful foreigner like me who you meet on the road, then there should be no subsequent trouble here. After a wave of mining forces sent money, the mines here fell into silence again. Even the other junior strongmen who worked with Jia Yan to protect the galaxy did not dare to come to Jia Yan again. During the 2-month guardianship period, except for the first trip and patrol, even at other times if Jia Yan wants to volunteer, he will also say that he prefers activities, so that Jia Yan can take a good rest and protect the mine itself. As a result, Jia Yan stayed inside the mine and delayed his guarding for 2 months. Buzz. In the training room inside the mine, a soft trembling sound sounded. It's comfortable. It's another absorption of energy. 2 months have passed like this. Tisk tisk. Such a job that is both convenient for cultivation and can make money. I really hope to continue doing it. It's a pity. Initially my registration level is only Galaxy Beginner level, and they gave me the salary of Galaxy Beginner level, so there is no point in continuing. Jia Yan gathered all his energy, then stood up and walked outside the practice room. In fact, the replacements had already arrived, but they did not dare to call Jia Yan. And if Jia Yan thought that this job was so easy, if they heard it, all of these strong men would probably be dumbfounded. Relaxation, that's for Jia Yan. If they, the first level powerhouses of the galaxy, come, they will have to patrol the entire mine every day. Under such circumstances, how can they practice comfortably? Master Jia Yan, congratulations on your release. Is this Master Jia Yan? He is indeed a talented person, with terrifying strength. Outside Jia Yan's practice room, several first-level powerhouses from the galaxy were waiting outside. Among them, Jia Yan knew the one who was performing the guardianship mission with him, but he did not recognize the others. However, he knew that these should be the primary replacements of the galaxy who replaced him. And they all know their own affairs, and each of them must flatter Jia Yan and do their best to be humble to Jia Yan. Hello everyone, it's time to hand over. It's time to leave, haha. Thank you for your hard work. Jia Yan smiled. No matter how flattering they were, he had a brief handover work with the elementary powerhouse of the galaxy who was about to evacuate, and then got on a flying car, and with the sound of the flying car taking off, after leaving this area for a while, I had a legendary encounter in the mining area. Jia Yan still didn't make a sound along the way. The junior strongman from the galaxy who was riding in the same car with him and wanted to get close to him never had a chance. When the speed car returned to the small town, the strongman regretted that he had no further interaction with Jia Yan. They would probably only have such a casual acquaintance in the future, and there would even be no chance of meeting him again. The strongman sighed helplessly, then after getting off the bus, he said hello to Jia Yan and left knowingly. After all, Jia Yan's attitude had already expressed his unwillingness to make friends with this first-level powerhouse in the galaxy. The middle-level peak powerhouse of the galaxy, and most likely a fighting-type peak mid-level galaxy powerhouse, is no longer in the same world as him for the primary-level galaxy powerhouse, so he knows very well that he will never be the same again. No matter how close you are, it is impossible to get more friendship from this top mid-level collaborator in the galaxy. So the only option is to leave. Okay, I'm back again, but I don't know what happened to that cheap apprentice. Jia Yan will be gone for 2 months. For a strong man like him, and even for most of the biological races in the North Star, everyone can live hundreds of years, so 2 months is really not much. But for young creatures, it was different. Jia Yan knew that the little fish creature was a child who was just 1 or 2 years old and could not speak clearly. 2 months was enough for her to change a lot. Jia Yan hoped that she would grow up enough to start learning yin and yang from him. Don't think it's impossible. The creatures in the starry sky are more intelligent than the people on Earth. When Jia Yan knew about the creatures on a certain planet, he was shocked when he started learning powerful physics in kindergarten. Still there. But I'm used to it now. Shiwu. Hello, I am Xiao. Jia Yan Zaneo contacted Xiao's family, and it didn't take long for Xiao's family to arrive in front of Jia Yan after settling down in the city. The little fish is jumping around and doesn't seem to have grown up, but it can speak a lot more fluently. Hello, Xiao, come, let's find a place, master, and see how far you have progressed. Jia Yan exchanged a few words with her parents, and then took the little fish directly into a training ground in the city without any delay. Training grounds in small cities are set up for the strong. After all, North Star is a planet dominated by strong people. In a densely populated city, it would be bad if everyone practices randomly and causes destruction everywhere. Therefore, no matter which city it is, there are a training ground, and the fees for this training ground are based on the level of the strong. The damage caused by Earth-level powerhouses and galaxy-level powerhouses is different, so it is natural to charge different fees. And I don't know if this is a small city with good policies or some unique reasons. If the cultivator has not reached the prefecture level, or even if he is a child, he will actually receive nothing. It's just that the venue will be smaller, and you still have to wait, and it is restricted. A bit big. Jia Yan wasn't that stingy, so he paid directly for a training ground for star-level experts. Anyway, he himself doesn't practice, so the star level is enough. Xiao, show your bubble to master. Jia Yan asked the little fish to start spitting out bubbles. I remember last time that the little fish was attracted by Jia Yan because he made the bubbles of Jia Yan's yin and yang. Okay, poof. Xiao sprayed out 2 bubble balls with great force. Jia Yan watched silently, and then Xiao made the 2 bubble balls collide together. Boom. A soft explosion sounded in the stellar training room. However, she has not even reached the Earth level. No matter how powerful the bubble explosion is, it is not enough to destroy the star-level training room. Otherwise, Jia Yan will question the strong system if others don't tell her. Fortunately, nothing terrible happened. Very good, this positive and negative bubble has actually reached the destructive power of an Earth-level powerhouse. Now I can be sure, Xiao, you have my true talent for yin and yang dao. Jia Yan was amazed. You must know that the yin and yang dao he possesses, and is the most heaven-defying yin and yang dao talent, is because when he was at the venerable level, he fused an antimatter tree from the negative planet. Generally speaking, creatures that do not contain antimatter in their bodies will definitely not be as talented as Jia Yan in the yin and yang dao. But Xiao is a little different. The 2 bubbles it spit out seem to be the special ability of their race. Generally speaking, other fish creatures would not have the ability to spit out 2 bubbles with different power modes in a row like the small fish. But she was different. After spitting out 2 bubbles of positive and negative power according to Jia Yan's teachings, It turned out to be extremely powerful, causing an explosion of positive and negative power that should not have been caused. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2236. This has fully reached the Earth-level blasting capability. You know, this kind of talent is infinitely close to Jia Yan's yin and yang dao talent. Of course, it's just close. Unless she also has a period of antimatter integrated into her body, there is still a big gap in essence. But having such a talent is enough to make Jia Yan moved, and even has the idea of officially accepting the small fish creature as his true disciple. But Jia Yan endured it. With enough money, he can do more things, so accepting disciples at this juncture is misleading others and himself. What's more, this little fish creature seems to have good talent, but it is only in terms of his yin and yang dao. Jia Yan is not worried at all about the possibility that he will be picked up by other strong men to become his disciple. So, after Jia Yan thought for a while, he said calmly, "Very good, Xiao, I am quite satisfied with your talent, but for the time being, I cannot accept you as a disciple." When Jia Yan saw the family of fish creatures in front of him, his expression changed. The little fish creatures almost cried, but he continued without giving them too many sad thoughts. "This is not a problem of your talent, but a slight change on my side. I don't have time to teach you properly. It would be bad to mislead others. So for the time being, you can find a place to practice and wait until the right time. I will come to accept you as my disciple, do you understand?" When the family heard this, they realized that this was what Jia Yan meant, and they immediately burst into laughter. Although he cannot directly join Jia Yan's banner, Jia Yan has already made a promise to accept disciples. In a planet dominated by strong men, the words of a strong man are still very reliable. What's more, it seems that Jia Yan was really satisfied with Xiao's talent. He didn't accept her at the moment, probably because of some unique personal reasons. "Xiao, wait, disciple Xiao." The small fish creature nods its head in response. The two fish couples flying in mid-air behind her also nodded in agreement. "Your Excellency Jia Yan, since you said so, we will wait for you in the city. You can come back whenever you are free. Or you can give me some cultivation techniques. I hope Xiao will see you next time. When you are here, you will be handed over the cultivation results that satisfy you." The male fish creature, the father of the little fish, said. "Okay." Jia Yan also agreed. In fact, he is still a little embarrassed. After all, this family has been waiting for him here for so long. How much of their livelihood has been affected? How pitiful the hearts of parents in the world. Fortunately, Jia Yan made them wait because he initially took a fancy to Xiao's talent, otherwise he would not dare to affect other people's livelihoods. Although they still have to wait, the matter of discipleship has been initially decided. Even if Jia Yan wants to accept Xiao as his disciple now, Jia Yan always feels that he will wait until this disciple knows better in the future. The plan to recruit disciples is not too late. It's true to say that Jia Yan doesn't want to take care of a baby. It's difficult to teach such a young child. He doesn't have the energy. Otherwise, if the little fish is a teenager, then he will just take it away and control it better. He could do whatever he wanted without caring about this disciple, but that was not possible now. If he wanted to teach her, he would have to spend a lot of energy. The next thing was simple. Jia Yan gave the family of the disciples who were initially preparing to accept some yin-yang Tao practices and practice experience, and explained that her parents could also watch and even practice, but Jia Yan couldn't guarantee any effect. Originally, these basic techniques of practicing yin and yang dao have been spread in many places throughout the universe. Although this version is a version that Jia Yan has recently gained new experience and improved some, it is not very different, so giving it to others is nothing. After all, Jia Yan wants yin and yang dao to continue to flourish, preferably spread throughout the galaxy, and even form some form of replacement with the current cosmic cultivation methods, so the more people learn the basics, the better. What's more, Xiao is still young, so to teach her requires an adult to learn the exercises and then teach her with understanding. Otherwise, even if she can read, even Jia Yan can't guarantee what she will learn by herself in the end. Okay, you still live there, right? Don't change places casually in the past few years, and don't change yours Haimao number, so I can find you easily in the future. Jia Yan took out secret books and other items, as well as some materials that were more helpful for beginners, and gave them to Xiao's family. This was also considered a guarantee from him. The value was not very high, but it was something that the other party felt deeply in his heart. A placebo. Afterwards, amid the tearful farewell of the little fish creature, Jia Yan left the family and asked them to return to their rental place and live a good life for a few years. Anyway, no matter for him or for many creatures in this northern giant, a few years or even 10 years are actually not long. The little fish creature may be 1 or 2 years old despite her baby appearance. 10 years have passed, and she will probably have grown to the size of 2 or 3 years old on Earth, and she will be teaching at that time. Go and hand in the task. After you finish it, you can practice well. Moreover, many of the required materials and knowledge need to be searched by myself, because I am relatively new to Biostar, and many things cannot be bought with money. Because no one knows which items are effective for me before seeing the real thing or looking for it myself. Jia Yan immediately went to the mission office, paid a certain amount of agency fee, and received his salary for 2 months. Although I have 20 years' salary in my hand, after all, I got these 2 months' salary from my hard work, so I can't give it up, right? Oh, it seems that it is wrong to say that it is hard work. In short, it has to pay the cost. To be more serious, the danger encountered in the mining area was also caused by this mission. Why didn't he want the money? Probably the people at the mission center also got some news. When Jia Yan arrived there, they were extremely respectful and enthusiastically wanted Jia Yan to have a good relationship with them again. They even told the superiors that they wanted to meet Jia Yan. But Jia Yan refused the other party's request for an appointment because it was unnecessary. Jia Yan just thought for a moment, got through the numbers of several mining groups and forces that he had talked to before, and told them to take care of Xiao and his family. The other party was naturally concerned about the reassurance, but Jia Yan also said that there was no need to go out of his way to do it. After all, he had not officially accepted a disciple yet, and he did not want the family to be too affected by him, otherwise something unexpected would happen to him in the future, such as if you provoke any enemies or even have conflicts with the master's family, it is likely to affect this family. Jia Yan just said vaguely that he had only a casual acquaintance with the family and left them to their own devices, before Jia Yan hung up the phone one by one. Okay, now I'm going to start my next adventure. Jia Yan was in his hotel room, silently letting out a sigh of relief. He was summarizing his trip to the North Star. After all, the ignorant person who entered from the beginning has gradually become familiar with a large area. More importantly, he earned the first pot of gold, which improved his status here and made friends with the masters. It can be said that there is a new milestone. In this way, he can say with peace of mind that he has completed the first step, which is the stage of playing steadily, and he also has a little more confirmation of his strength in the North Star. Now that you have the resources in hand and a general self-identification of your strength, what will you do next? Practice. That's right, it's cultivation and improvement. But don't we still need to learn more about this planet and gain other knowledge and cultivation insights? So the so-called cultivation that follows is not simply cultivation. Then I can draw a line here. From today on, I can say that I have entered the second stage of being in the North Star. The first stage of caution and familiarity has been roughly completed. At least I have the power to control this great area. I have a general understanding of the area, and the next step is to walk more extensively. Of course, it must be on a safe and peaceful road. It's not like I don't have money. I'll wait until I really don't have any money before I do something adventurous. Jia Yan's positioning of himself is just the above. What happened before can be regarded as the first stage of arriving at Biostar. After gaining a firm foothold, you can enter the second stage. In other words, he didn't have much improvement in strength before, but now it's different. The purpose of getting familiar with Bei-Seeing is to enter the second stage and let his strength really take off and improve. After all, isn't the purpose of coming to Biostar to improve the strength to the Domain Lord level? Therefore, Jia Yan did not think at all that he had wasted his time on Biostar before, but that it was very, very necessary. How could he enter the second stage without establishing a process of becoming familiar with and gaining a firm foothold? In the early morning of the next day, Jia Yan decided on a certain direction and quietly left the city. And he didn't leave by himself, but by taking the intercity bus in this Gongjuling area, a transportation system like a flying bus. This is also a mistake he made before, that is, when he was in the land of peace, Jia Yan was used to relying on his own flying. Then when he arrived in this area, he still flew on his own, so that there would be creatures like robbers. Find yourself. When taking this kind of public transportation system, generally speaking, there will be no robbers, because not only will there be no gain, but there is a greater possibility that the public transportation system will be targeted by City University, and then the police will be sent to the door. The clearing up means that no mature bandit or robber would have the idea of doing such a thing. Therefore, by riding on such a system, Jia Yan not only does not need to release his brainwave power to fly, which saves energy and is safer, but he can also find a private room and practice in the private room. It can be said that he kills 3 birds with 1 stone. Why didn't you trust this public transportation system earlier? You are just like a fool. Sitting in the slightly shaky private room, Jia Yan felt very satisfied with his current way of traveling. In comparison, I looked like a fool when I flew with a huge metal suitcase on one side. The longer you stay on this northern star, the more unique it becomes. Even small discoveries like this in life will surprise Jia Yan for a long time. Actually, these seem to be just like ordinary life. I used to be a giant mosquito. I am very powerful in the universe. But the problem is that I am also out of ordinary life. I don't have time to taste such ordinary people. It feels like a giant mosquito that can crush the houses of many creatures with 1 foot. I have never experienced this feeling at all. The more Jia Yan experienced life on the northern superstar, the more he felt that this planet had a unique attraction. Of course, why are there so many powerful creatures from the outside world who can't wait to leave after this? In fact, the reason is very simple. They either went to a more dangerous area, or they couldn't bear the feeling of not being able to show off their power in the North Star, so they wanted to go out. Otherwise, in a superstar with so many opportunities and freshness, even a strong person would have the desire to continue. Don't be in a hurry. Now let's take a look at the information on the place I will choose next. I will study it while I am practicing. Jia Yan enjoyed the current sense of life. He even opened the window in the private room and looked at the sky with white clouds outside and the earth 10,000 meters below. The master family is really powerful. Wherever I look, such a large area belongs to them. Previously, a little princess was protected by a domain lord creature. It seems that after hearing about the assassination, the number of territory lord creatures around her suddenly reached 3. You know, these are 3 territory lords, which shows how strong the master family is. Jia Yan sighed at the power of the master's family, and then set his sights on a piece of land far away. That is the distant destination of this urban transportation system. There will be many stops in the middle before arriving. It is also the next place Jia Yan has decided to go to. A huge city nearly 7 million kilometers away is another territory separated from Gongjuling, and far away from the peaceful area. This will be a very long trip, and the ticket alone will cost Jia Yan about a year's salary. But it should all be worth it. You can see a lot of things during the journey. Everywhere you go, the train-like public system between cities will stay for a few days, allowing Jia Yan to go out and pick up some supplies. Maybe there will be a nice unexpected surprise. Of course, the most noteworthy thing is the final destination chosen by Jia Yan for the public transportation system, a large regional city located on the plateau and covered with ice and snow. There, a certain kind of ice mineral is produced that is only found in plateau areas, and due to a very unique reason, the price is extremely low. In addition, Jia Yan has not absorbed much material and energy with icy properties, so for this the absorption efficiency of such items must be quite high.